morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners meeting of October 9th, 2018. I'd like to remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. At this time, I would like to ask you all to please rise for the invocation and pledge. Madam Clerk.
Please bow your heads. O merciful Creator, your hand is open wide to satisfy the needs of every living creature. Make us thankful for your loving providence and grant that we, remembering the account that we must one day give, may be faithful stewards of your good gifts. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Here.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
Here.
District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Here.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Here.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Now is the time for public comment. Citizens are given an opportunity to comment on any item coming before the board during this public comment section. The board also takes public comment on items to be placed on a future board agenda or other business under their purview. Public comment for public hearing items are taken during those individual public hearings beginning at 1:30 this afternoon. Individuals speaking during public comment will be given 3 minutes to speak. After stating your name and address for the clerk, the timer located on the podium will start a countdown. After 2 minutes, one beep will sound and the light on the timer will change from green to yellow, letting you know that only 1 minute remains. After the time is up, 2 beeps will sound, the light on the timer will change from yellow to red, indicating 3 minutes are up, and you should close your comments. I only have one person signed up to speak, and that looks like Chase Daniels. If you'd like to come forward, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Chase Daniels, Pasco Sheriff's Office, 8700 Citizen Drive, Newport Richey. Just wanted to very quickly speak on behalf of item R4 on behalf of the sheriff, which is the Vincent House program that with Lacucci Regional, the United Way, and the Public Defender's Office are working on, and just offer the sheriff support. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but he did ask me to offer support. We think this is an important project to help get these people back to work, get them into our workforce instead of coming into contact with us, and we are very hopeful and excited to see it move forward today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you did not sign up in advance and would like to speak, can you please come forward? Okay, seeing no one that, oh, sorry, come forward, ma'am. Sorry about that. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Hazel Wells. I live in Trilby, 20542 Mickens Drive. And I'm here to present a little problem in Trilby. For sidewalk, I'm here to ask for sidewalks in Trilby along 575 on behalf of the children and the mothers who are pushing the children in strollers there. There are a lot of traffic there. And one little handicapped boy, he's a paraplegic, he's 15, and he goes to Zephyr Hills High School, and he's in 10th grade. And he goes to the little Baptist church down below the Trilby Post Office, the old Baptist church. And on Wednesday night, somebody had to push him back. His chair is too big to get in a car, so they push him back along the dark highway. So I'm asking for safety for the children. And he's a wonderful little boy, and he is in this special chair. Because the chair is big, rather big. But he can use his hands to use his cell phone, and he's a faithful little attendant there. And the church now is not the Trilby Baptist Church; it's Faith Fellowship. And my brother Robert Perkins, he's teaching the children Bible study, and he's had the church now for quite a while. They started at McDonald, and the man that had owned the church, he let them have the church as long as they do something in there. And so every Wednesday night he had Bible study, and on Sunday he had Bible study, and he feed the children. So they all come. There are about a dozen or more children that come. And this one little paraplegic boy, there are 5 of them in the family, and his mom had problems, so his aunt takes care of all of them. And they're all faithful about coming. So that's why I'm here, just to ask for sidewalks. For better safety there for the children, because there's a lot of traffic going back into from that area on 575 back across the trailway to the store, so the Citgo station. That's why I'm here.
Okay, if you could, ma'am, if you don't mind, see Mr. Carballa, he'll get your information and we'll follow up. I'm sure Commissioner Oakley will follow up. So
I've got
thank
it
you.
set up to her to come have a meeting with me. Maybe when they do the roundabout right there at Trilby at the 575 and 98, maybe look at maybe putting those sidewalks in about that same time.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak to the board? If so, please come forward. Seeing no one, that'll conclude public comment section. Next order of business is the consent agenda. I have a pulled sheet with the following items listed. C67, pull and revise. C50, pull, discuss. C54, pull and revise. Board members, do you have any other consent items that need to be pulled at this time?
Seeing none, move approval of the ring consent items.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I will now take the pulled sheet. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Paige Bramlett, Pasco County Community Development. C67, we had to add an attest signature line to the signature page. That was it.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Paige? Mike, you're up. C50?
Good morning, Mike Carballa, Public Infrastructure. On item C50, there was a scrivener's error on the signature page. An inadvertent S was added to the corporate name. It is actually Professional Service Industries Incorporated. That is consistent through the remaining language in the task order, so it does not affect its legal viability, according to the county attorney's office.
Move for approval as revised.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Ainsley, or, well, I guess Mike?
I'll go ahead and
Mike,
cover
yep.
C54. C54, there was an error on the signature page that required correction. Those errors have been corrected and have been rehanded out to you.
Oh, this was
Move approval.
right. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. Now we will move on to regular agenda. I know that R4 originally was on consent, and it sounds like everything is everybody has agreed on that. Can I get a motion to approve R4?
Approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you. And with that, we'll move to R1.
Yes, sir. You know, we've got issues up and down US 19 between homeless and we're trying to deal with it. And I think what we just passed on R4 is a good step forward. But, you know, in my meeting I had with the sheriff and his staff, we talked about different things that could be done to possibly work. One of them was along, we have like brush areas everywhere, that it makes a real safe haven for homeless people to go into. They destroy property, they live in there and destroy and hurt the community. I think we should be taking a look at clearing out type of an ordinance. Sheriff recommended if we go like 8 feet high for vegetation, they can actually look in and see what's going on in there. If you went along US 19, you'd actually even see a set of blinds that some person put up on 19 just so it kind of blocked the sun going in. I mean, it's seriously a problem that's going on that we need to take care of it. Something else that came up was
You mean on county property or any?
Mr.
or
Chairman.
any private property.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Moore?
I don't think anybody can hear. I'm seeing people do this. Can we turn the mics up?
Maybe I didn't get my mic close enough.
No, it's not. It's.
That better?
That's
They just
better.
turn it up to it.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. All right, so let me start over again. Okay, thank you. So along 19, there's a lot of homeless camps that are out there. They kind of hide in the trees. They're tough to get to. The sheriff's spent a tremendous amount of energy moving them out as people get trespassed. It would be easier and safer for the deputies if they could actually see what's going on in the landscaping areas to go in there. He recommends an 8-foot-high clearing area so you can actually see in there for a bit to see what's actually going on. I think it's something our staff needs to bring forward. A few other things. The city of Newport Richey put in a, okay.
Well, I just want to understand, are you talking about county-owned property or require privately owned property? But it's called bush hogging, I think. Kind of bush hog or clear.
Yes, privately owned property,
So we would ask them to come in and clear it?
especially if there's a homeless problem that's out there,
Yeah,
then.
I'm okay with that. I
Okay.
just need clarification on what you're looking for.
And Commissioner, on that point, and I agree with you, you know, and it might be something that we could include in the blight ordinance because, I mean, it's really, it may not be a building, but it's still a vacant lot, and there should be, I think maybe we might be able to, that way the fines are still, you can levy, you know, just a thought.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I do agree with you, it is not safe in some areas, if you will, especially for our law enforcement.
Okay. Next thing, the city of Newport Richey, I guess, had passed a rental ordinance. I was a little unsure of exactly what the benefits were, but in the conversation we had, if a rental property has trouble with, let's say, crime or whatever, and the sheriff's been a couple of times there, I guess from what I understand, they can actually then go
Right.
get a list of all the people who are supposed to live there, who's on the rent, who's not, so that kind of keeps away the squatters, which is a big issue for a lot of different reasons. I think that's something that we need to incorporate, take a look at and bring before the board as well.
I think we started on a rental registry, and then it stalled, so I'm very much in favor of moving forward with that. We looked at seeing even in District 3, it could be a pilot program, but I'm very much in favor of a rental registry.
Well, for District 5, for the benefits that come out in our discussion, I'm very much in favor of taking a look at that and trying to move that forward, because I think it is definitely a big issue. Another idea that came out, and I actually brought this one up because reading about the navigation centers out in San Francisco, reading where Sarasota just passed something similar, was a bus pass for homeless people. What they did in both places, they would set up a place where they would go back to family members, maybe for better times. The sheriff's department actually had a better way to even do it for an extra level, where they actually would set up services for these people that were homeless in their hometown to actually go there, and so when they get there, they have a family to go to, and they get services they need up in that area. So I think
You're talking like a Greyhound bus? Or
it could be a
county
Greyhound bus. No, it could be, I would think a Greyhound bus. I mean, you could do a weekly or whatever. They can work out the details, but it's, others have done it. It actually makes sense if people are just stuck here, there's nowhere to go, there's no hope for them. Going back home might be the best thing for them, and especially we can set up the service like the sheriff's department recommended. It gives me a lot of comfort to actually take a look at that as well. Last
We
thing.
already do that.
We do that, but,
Kathy. I think they already do that.
well, I don't think we have enough funding to keep on doing it, but even coordination with the sheriff's department openly would be a good thing.
Kathy Pearson, Public Services. So a lot of our not-for-profit agencies do that as part of their case management now. So that is part of the case management, contacting their folks, seeing if they've got family, and a lot of them do pay for bus passes to go. So I know United Way, a lot of the agencies do that. But we're going to incorporate that even more, so great idea.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. And lastly, we have a panhandling ordinance in place, and we write a lot of tickets to all the people that are doing the panhandling. One gentleman's got 240 tickets. They don't know what to do. They don't want to take them to jail to fill up the jail. What do you do next? I think we should go look at it, taking that ordinance and actually incorporating it something in where we actually talk to the people that are donating. Now, it's going to be hard to enforce, I get that. But I think just the message out there that we don't want you donating to the panhandlers, I think would minimize that event happening over and over again, especially if some, good citizens trying to help someone, maybe they see, what, this is not the right thing to go do, to keep it happening.
So it's
Commissioner
interesting that
Starkey.
you brought that up, because I was going to bring this up at Commissioner item. So I have been calling in my own panhandling calls and talking to people in the Holiday area, and I had a long conversation with the deputy. Actually, there was a panhandler in a wheelchair on the turn lane in Starkey Boulevard, turning left. And they had cited him for being on the right-hand side of the road. And then, and so they gave him a citation, and then he just moved to the left side. And so apparently, it's site-specific when you cite them. So I think we have to readdress that ordinance, and I think it should be panhandling anywhere in the county. So you can't just get it in one place and then move 100 feet to another intersection and get it again, because that's what they said they're doing. They're just moving down the block, and they cite them again. It's a whole new, this is how the sheriff's office has told me how they're treating it.
Okay, well, that wouldn't be the panhandling ordinance or the solicitation ordinance. That sounds like
Trespass.
they're using trespass, and trespass would be whatever property they've been trespassed off of. If they're not on that property and they're someplace else, they would have to give another trespass warning. You can't change that.
So if they're standing there with the sign, and you call it in, and then the sheriff's department arrives and they put the sign in their pocket, I guess maybe they can't say that they're panhandling, and then they just trespass
Well,
them?
there's
Do they
have
have to see the
to be
sign?
an action between.
Because
Ms.
they asked
Sims
me to
can-
strengthen the panhandling ordinance, so.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Moore.
I know what you're talking about too, because what, I see it all over the county, they're just going on private property. So instead of going on, the corners or on the right of way, they're moving in closer. Even the people selling newspapers do that now. So they'll do it in the parking lot, they'll have a sign out there, newspapers this way. I'm just using them as an example. And you pull in the parking lot and they're selling newspapers.
Well,
Same with the panhandling thing. So they're
They're-
going on private property, they're staying off the streets, and they're just moving into private properties. Then that's.
they may be doing that as
The attorney's
well.
stepping up, but then it's a trespass.
But they're moving up and down the medians of 19, and they'll be at one intersection, and then they'll
Well, that's two
they'll just
separate
go straight down and go to another intersection.
Yeah, that's separate.
So when the board enacted its ordinance concerning road solicitation or panhandling, that is a civil violation. And yes, tickets were written. People would turn the tickets over and use them as another sign on the back of their tickets. And it was not being paid, wasn't particularly effective with some of the panhandlers in the county. If you recall when this started, it was ubiquitous on almost every corner and growing. There is certainly a hardcore population of people who are violating the road solicitation ordinance. So this board went further and implemented a trespass ordinance that allows the sheriff's office to trespass them off of public property, intersections, and yes, that is site-specific. If that's not working, my suggestion is that either, one, we work harder at the trespass option, or two, the next step after that is our ordinances are theoretically punishable by up to 60 days in jail. However, we would need to fund and pay for representation for indigent defendants to do that. So
No
those
easy
are your
answer.
options. I can't redraw the road solicitation ordinance to make it any more effective, because it's the nature of the remedy, and the people receiving citations either care or they don't. They either pay them or they don't. They either have
What happens if they don't pay them?
about the citation and being in the court system, or they're not. And so the next option after that is trespassing, which you've done. And if you're telling me that you want another option after that, the only thing left is jail. And so I can't redraw the ordinance. I can't make a certain segment of panhandlers care that they've received a citation.
What happens when they get a citation? What's the process?
Well, because it's a civil violation, that eventually becomes a collection issue between them and the clerk. One thing that we do not have for violation of our local ordinances is if they don't pay a traffic ticket, their driver's license gets suspended.
My guess is some of these guys
We do
don't
not have that
cars.
if somebody fails to pay our local county ordinance. So,
That's a
as a
challenge.
prosecutor for a number of years, I saw the same people, the
Yeah.
same 10 people, I could name them, on the west side of the county over the course of 2 or 3 years rack up, as you said, hundreds of tickets. And I know it was frustrating for the deputies, so this board put into place the trespassing ordinance, which keeps them off of certain intersections. Once they've been warned, it's an intersection. And yes, if they're gonna move down to the next bus stop or down to the next intersection, they have to be warned for those specific areas. So.
Mr. Chairman, I think if we focus again on the other side of it, the donor part, and incorporate that into the ordinance, it'll help. I will say, the Act Center in Beacon Woods, across the Walmart, when they feed, there's always 1 or 2 or 3, sometimes they all team up and they take rotating shifts to go out there. I've seen other people in really good-looking clothes, well-groomed, out there panhandling as well. So that what we have in place may deter those people from that situation, because there's some people living in places that just come out there because it's easy money. I think if we work with our code people and try to put a plan together, as well as putting the swords in place, let them do the enforcement. I think when someone gets a couple of warnings, they're going to stop. When the panhandlers see that these people are going to be warned not to donate, I think we can deter it that way, because obviously what we're doing is not working. We need some type of change, and I think this is something that would be a very positive move to go forward to try to diminish what's happening out there.
And, go ahead, Commissioner.
I don't know if this is 15 years ago or so, there was a gentleman who used to panhandle at Little and 54 on the Mitchell property side, who, when he was done, he would go get in his Mercedes over there in the Walmart parking lot. He was out there all the time. It's crazy.
Well, and keep in mind, we're talking about this, which is good, but, remind folks that are listening or sitting out there that the reason we did this was for safety. I mean, I got to know a veteran that was panhandling. He was finally getting some services from Veteran Services, and he got killed on Ridge 19. That's really one of the reasons I brought this forward to the board, is because of safety. And I can tell you there's a lot of success stories to where we're able to offer services to folks and they take it. I haven't seen that lately, because I think it's a lot of the same folks, but I would like for Kathy, if you could maybe have another meeting with the sheriff's office, make sure they have the information they need to provide to these folks, and also like even the workforce reentry program we just approved the last meeting, which is to help these folks get back to work. Obviously, they want to make money, so let's help them along and see if they want to look into qualifying for jobs. I would love to be able to have some of these folks come before us in 3 to 6 months and say, hey, thank you, I'm here today because of the opportunity you gave me. So, and I know the sheriff's office does a great job, and I know they've done a great job of educating these folks on services we do have available. So, yes, ma'am.
So I just want to add a great partnership that's happening. Kathy Pearson, Public Services, Chase Daniels, myself, Jeff Peak, Kim Price, we've all been meeting. Thank you for letting us hire another case manager for Human Services. We are actually going to be placing that person with the sheriff inside the sheriff's office, and we're going to be doing a lot of outreach and partnering them with resources. So we're in the beginning stages of that. We're hiring the person now. Sheriff's Department is in on the interviews with that, so we're creating a really great partnership with that, and I think you're going to see some changes just due to that. So Chase, if you want to say anything, or you're all set.
Again, Chase Daniels with the Pasco Sheriff's Office. Like Kathy said, it has been a great partnership. We are hopeful, Kathy, it should be, I think, in the next couple of weeks, those interviews should be. And so the idea is that Major Peak brought forward to Kathy is this concept of essentially having someone in the county, embedded with the sheriff's office, who understands all those county services, who understands what the United Way can provide, who understands what Metropolitan Ministries can provide, who understands what the Homeless Coalition can offer, can understand what Kim and Kathy and their team offer. And essentially that allows us to make sure that anytime one of our deputies comes in contact with someone, much like we have our real-time crime center, where right now if we come into contact with someone or our deputies are responding to a call, they can get real-time information on, hey, this person has a history of X, Y, Z, these are the type of calls we have, the address. And now we can also have someone, whenever we come in contact with someone who needs services, that we can then make contact with this county liaison who says, hey, we can offer services X, Y, and Z, and our hope is to bring these people and get them out of the situation they find themselves in and be able to get them into those needed services and help. And so full credit to Kathy and Kim and her team. This actually came out of a monthly meeting Kathy has with some of the homeless advocates that we were invited to speak at. And this is an idea that kind of came out of that I know Major Peak and Director Larry Krause and our agency have been working on. So it's exciting. We're excited for it, and I think that'll go a long way to making sure that these services get where they need to be and people can get help.
Great.
Okay, because I know Krista talks about the same 10 every time, that the sheriff's office, but I think most, I know most, because I talk to quite a few, that they want the help. They don't want a handout, they want a hand up. And I know we've done a good job of doing that, partner with you, so I look forward to it being even more successful. I know your team's going to be involved out with the Volunteer Way in Moon Lake, which there's a huge need out there too, so it's nice that we're, again, facing this together, because obviously we're all stronger together, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yes, Commissioner.
So, Chase, and again, I greatly appreciate the meeting we had with the sheriff, you, and the whole team. The points that I bring up, did I bring up pretty clearly as far as what we talked about? And
Yes, sir, absolutely. So, and I can tell you from the sheriff's office perspective, anything this board wants to bring forward that kind of gives us, to use that phrase of more tools in the toolbox, we would certainly appreciate it and certainly support it and look forward to being a part of those discussions as those ordinances get moving.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and do we want to, I know, Commissioner, you didn't bring it up, do we want to schedule a workshop to go over these couple things, maybe with the sheriff's office, and as soon as we can in December or whatever, November, just so we can all talk about the ordinance and what can and can't be changed, or?
Probably December is good.
Okay.
Or it could be January. I mean, just, they can keep on working together and come up with the plans and kind of get the ball rolling for us to kind of like devise these things.
Okay.
It'll give Mr. Steinstein a little extra time.
He's excited.
Mr. Chairman, this is a conversation both for the county attorney and the county administrator.
Right.
You have a list of priorities. Every time we add new priorities that bump those priorities, the ones that you're waiting for take longer to get to. So we just need to know what you want us to work on.
The chickens can wait another couple minutes.
No, the chickens.
Are we still doing
Time
that?
is up
Are
for
we still doing the
chickens.
chickens?
Bring
I
it
thought,
forward.
yeah.
May I suggest that the county attorney provide for us a list of the ordinances that they're working on and, possible timelines on those so we can see where we are and where it might fit in? I don't even remember which ones we're working on
Okay,
anymore.
so it is planning and
Oh, yeah.
development that has the LDC
Right.
list.
Can we see
And
that
there
list?
is also now a new list that has been generated by
Paul Dean and his
Paul
team.
Dean and his group on the
LDC
non-LDC
Can we-
things, man. We'll
Yeah, we can
be
get that,
glad
we can
to-
get those two lists to you. I'll say on
Okay.
there's actually been a lot done on the LDC
Okay.
tiers. There's still a lot of work to do, but, just a couple things that, we still have the discussion of covers on boats that we're working on and some other things. So we'll get you the list and maybe, at the next meeting, we can discuss the priorities of that.
Okay.
Because there's one that I want to add on there. I'll talk about Commissioner's items on the right-of-way protection ordinance.
Well, that's already working. I mean, we're
Okay.
working on that one as well right now.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, and part of the reason it's so important, especially the focus on US 19, I think this county's booming with a lot of different ways. Construction's moving, a lot of good jobs out there. But I will tell you, the retail on US 19 is still struggling, and it needs the help. These deterrents that are up and down, they will keep people from shopping here. And if you look at what's going on State Road 50, they're booming up there, down south. So we need to make sure this corridor gets upgraded. Like the great stuff we're doing, landscaping, we still could make this extra step. Thank you.
No, I think it's a good idea.
Maybe at the next board meeting, they could just put a list of all these together, we can have a discussion, then we can work on setting a date for the workshop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. R2, Dan?
Yes, sir. So R2 is my, after a national search, over 40-plus applicants, a couple rounds of interviews, the whole team decided that the most appropriate person for the public infrastructure assistant county administrator position is Mike Kerbala. So I'm asking the board to confirm that today.
Move approval.
Second.
Can I have some discussion first? No, I'm just kidding.
All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Mike, did you want to come up and spend 15 minutes and tell us a little bit about yourself?
I had
Just
30
kidding.
prepared as
Just
well as
kidding.
an exhausting PowerPoint, but no. I'd like to thank you for your consideration, thank Mr. Biles and his team, as well as the entire public infrastructure team for affording this opportunity to serve and to lead quite an amazing team of highly competent individuals that do a great job. I'm confident that under the guidance and leadership of this body, administration, and especially the hard work and determination of our team, that we're going to affect the kind of change that our citizens demand of their local government. And I'm excited and happy to do my part. So I thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Oakland?
Mike, now that you're in, not an interim, and you've been doing a great job, you've worked very hard to do that job. We just expect more out of you now than we were getting before, and you did a great job before. So,
thank you, sir. I appreciate
thank you.
that.
I'm glad to have you aboard. So.
Thank you. I'm happy.
Mr. Chairman?
Congratulations.
Commissioner Mariano,
Hey,
hang
Mike.
on, Mike, hang on.
We're going to pour it on a little bit here, you know. Mike, you have done a phenomenal job for us. I hear from people that work under you that morale is higher than probably it's been in many, many years. So I think you're doing a great job. I really appreciate you, especially we've gone through the summer with different events that are coming up. You've been right on top of everything we've got going on between FGOA and all the issues. So I know you're going to do a great job for us.
Oh, well, I thank you, and the team really is the ones that really carry the water on this. I'm happy to be a part of it, so I thank you.
Supposed to wait at least a year before you give them props. No, good job, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Congrats.
And
Denise, R4?
Three.
Or R3, sorry. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. As you recall, early September, you asked staff to take a look at the regional attractors dwell time because one of the customers, actually the only customer that I know of that has installed a digital display on their monument sign, which is the Pasco County Fairgrounds, stated that they can't convey the number of messages that they wanted to their traveling public. So basically the issue they were having is, and as we looked at the ordinance, we looked at, well, what's the intent of the ordinance? And the intent of the ordinance is to allow the conveyance of multiple messages to the traveling public. And that could not occur with the minimum dwell time, which is the 60-second dwell time that was established. So, so basically staff took a look at it, and we have to look at the balance between the safety of the traveling public and the interests of our customers who want to show the digital display on their signs and be able to convey the message to their customers. There is extensive research out there that has been sponsored by the Outdoor Advertising Sign of America, and those are basically the research that's been done is mostly geared towards digital billboards, which are very different than electronic message centers that actually sit at ground level. These are signs that are very large, typically over, some of them as large as, in our county at least, 672 square feet and upward throughout the United States. And they also sit at over 40 feet in the sky. So we also looked at what is the best practices in the industry, or what's considered best practices. So there are some sign codes out there that basically say, okay, well, if you look at the dwell time should equal the visibility distance from where you can see the sign and the speed, divided by the speed limit. And what you're gonna get out there is somewhere over 8 seconds or so. However, there would be some enforcement concerns on that. We would really have to specify and very well define how visibility distance is measured. So in the absence of a great deal of information out there, and the fact that nationwide the dwell times are anywhere between 5 seconds and 24 hours, actually took a look at a few places, and of course there aren't many places out there that specifically call out regional attractors as we do. These are just basically electronic message centers dwell times that you see out there. St. Petersburg, for example, calls out signs at a place of public assembly, which is kind of similar to the regional attractor concept, and they have 60 seconds as a dwell time, which is where we got the idea behind our ordinance. But we realize it doesn't meet the intent and purpose. Something we thought of from a perspective of fairness, we looked at what do the digital signs, what do our electronic billboards, the digital billboards have as a dwell time, and that's 15 seconds. So that's the recommendation that you're getting from staff, is to reduce the dwell time from 60 seconds to 15 seconds. And we're asking the board today to direct staff to advertise and to hold public hearings as follows. October 11th for the LPA, which is in a couple of days, at 1:30 here in Dade City. The first reading to the board on October 23rd in Newport Richey at 1:30, with the adoption on November 27th at 1:30 in Dade City.
Any questions for Denise?
Denise,
Commissioner Oakley?
you also reached out to Center Ice? Because wouldn't they, in the future, they would be the same type of user?
Yes, I reached out to Center Ice, and they were not ready to do this at this point in time, so I didn't get a lot of information from them.
Okay, so they didn't tell you if this was good with them or not? I mean,
That's correct statement.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Anyone else?
I like the idea, move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for that, Denise.
Thank you,
Appreciate-
Commissioners.
Appreciate your help.
Thank you.
R5 page.
Paige Bramlett, Pasco County Community Development. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board again. One second.
No.
All right, we can go ahead and start while the slides are coming up. Today I present for your consideration the county's support of proposed development, Tanager Court, under the Florida Housing Finance Corporation, request for application 2018-110. This development that we're proposing for your support is an 88-unit development that's going to be at State Road 54 and Old County Road 54. The developer is Birdsong Housing, also known as DD. Birdsong Housing Partners, also known as DDER Development, and the program by FHFC is called the Housing Credit Finance for Affordable Housing Development in Medium Counties. This program incentivizes affordable housing development by providing developers up to $1.7 million in tax credits. The county's contribution of $425,625 allows the developer to apply under the Local Government Area of Opportunity Funding Goal Program. And this allows the developer to automatically meet multiple requirements as well as qualify for scoring incentives, which increases their chance of approval and our potential of getting this project. This is the first time that this program's been open to medium-sized counties, the 29 medium-sized counties as defined by FHFC. And only 2 applicants will be selected under this program across all those county submissions. Community Development solicited applications on September 11, 2018, and we received 5 proposals. An internal review meeting was held the morning of September 27th, which was comprised of 8 county employees across 4 branches. And we reviewed those 5 applications to make a recommendation to this board. Some of the main considerations that we considered were alignment with the applicants under the FHC RFA 2018-110 requirements, the proximity of services to the proposed development location, such as public transportation, hospitals, shopping, and pharmacies, the proposed location relative to other projects that have been proposed, both present and future, as well as funding that we had already given applicants in the past if it applied. These were the development proposals we received. The Commons at Spears Village, Phase 2. The board approved funding for the Common at Spears Village Phase 1, which is still due to break ground. Lake Cypress, which is at the northwest quadrant of State Road 54 and Eland and Morris Bridge Roads. Tanager Court, which is at Old County Road 54, as we said, and State Road 54. Fort King 2, which is along the 301 corridor off Fort King Road, and Palmetto Hideaway, which was west of Highway 19, north of Main Street, between Main Street and Ridge. 4 of these proposed developments were oriented toward family, while 1 was oriented toward elderly. And you can see the proposed demographics to be served in the far right-hand corner. Tanager Court specifically is oriented to serve at 90% of the population below 60% AMI and 10% below 35% of AMI, which is the area median income for Pasco County. This map shows you the proposed locations in blue, as well as the existing FHFC affordable housing developments in red. The map on your far left is east of 19, north of Ridge Road, up to Hudson. The map on your right is south of Ridge Road to 54, between Little Road and 19. You can see 3 of the proposed developments fell within this region. Palmetto Highway, again west of 19, the Common at Spears Village at Plath and Roy, as well as Tanager Court at 54 and Old 54. And then we have the proposed and existing developments on the east side of the county. As you can see, Lake Cypress again was off of 54. We have 2 existing amenities in that area. And we also had a proposal again off of 301 near Zephyr Hills. We've got 9 current properties between Dade City and Zephyr Hills in that area. Our recommendation was Tanager Court. As we said, this parcel, it's composed of 2 parcels, approximately 9 acres each, that are located off of Old County Road 54 to the north and State Road 54 to the south. It is, again, it's going to be 88 units. It's going to be geared toward elderly. It's also going to have a 5% set aside for special needs. Every unit will serve 60% and below of area median income, as well as 10% serving below 35% of the area median income. The proposal meets the county's need for affordable housing development with over 1/3 again below AMI, with over 1/3 of the elderly population, 55 and older in Pasco County, being below 60% AMI. Current FHFC properties, we have 9 elderly properties in Pasco County right now. They're near max capacity across the board. So we do have a distinct need for this project. It will meet that need in an area that is part of both the county's urban service area as well as the West Market area. It has substantial services in close proximity to include public transportation, medical facilities, grocery stores, and pharmacies. For those projects that are being proposed to the FHFC, outside of the local government area of opportunity funding, one of the criteria is that they are scored for proximity of services related to their location. We scored this project just to see how it would fall out, and it scored 12.5 points. 7 is the minimum threshold. 9 actually gets you a proximity boost for scoring purposes outside of this program. So they would have met that qualification regardless, which is a good thing. This is a $19.4 million project. It's going to create approximately 350 jobs with an estimated $50 million in economic activity. And for these reasons, it is the staff recommendation that the board approve the contribution of $425,625 to the Tanager Court development, so they may apply under the local government area opportunity funding goal for FHFC RFA 2018-110. Any questions?
Okay, Commissioner Moore.
So, Paige, thank you for your hard and diligent work on this. There's such a need for low-income senior housing, affordable housing, I should use that term instead, in Pasco County. As you know, and you mentioned that many of those, I don't want to say facilities, but many of these housing units are full, and there's a wait list for many of them.
Absolutely.
There's such a need, especially as for our seniors too. So if you look at that area, we have an aging population. If you look at anywhere with that Newport Richey area, all the way up into the Elfers area, into Commissioner Starkey, your district, around Pinellas, borders Pinellas County, it's a high senior population there, aging senior population, and a lot of them don't know what they're, when it gets to the point where they can't maintain their own homes anymore, but they're not ready for assisted living, but what do they got? So this is a great option, and I'm thrilled that we're going to see this in our county. Hopefully that the feds choose this one.
Absolutely.
Right. You guys did good work on this, and we appreciate it. And we could use more of this. I've said this many a times, for our seniors across the county. The one in Separate Hills, I know that there's a long wait list for that one.
Absolutely.
Very long wait list for that one. And these are nice. These are great. These are great facilities. And, they're kept up nice, and they continue because they have to meet the criteria. Their criteria is higher, I think, than just a normal development too, with the standards that they have to meet. So.
It is, and this funding specifically, the funding amount was dictated by the development type, and for this one, we are seeking funding for the concrete structure versus wood frame. This has a 50-year affordability attached to it, so this will remain affordable for eligible candidates for a 50-year period, which is an outstanding asset to the affordable housing stock in Pasco County. And again, as you said, the elderly demographic in need is growing in Pasco all over the state of Florida. So this will definitely fit a much needed area.
And the additional services too, you mentioned the light housekeeping, the grocery, the laundry, the shopping assistant, those are all needed. It gets to the point where some of these seniors do want to remain in the home and not have to be an assistant or not have to be obviously in a nursing home, but they just can't get out every day and do their own grocery shopping or they can't do their own laundry, and to have that assistance is
Absolutely, and again, to your point, Commissioner, they all are offering on-site amenities, which is required by FHFC, but they're going to have training programs as well as day-to-day needs assistance for these occupants. So it's definitely a worthy development.
I recommend, I'll make a motion to approve, and I think somebody else wants to say something. So.
Do I have a second? And then
Second.
Okay. Somebody else want to say anything?
Well, I just think it's a great program. I know they were trying to decide which community to serve, and either community would have been well served by this. And as we're working to clean up that area around Elfers Parkway, this is a perfect place where some of those elderly folks that hopefully we're going to be moving out of some of those trailers on the river that flood, this is a perfect place for them to go. They can stay close in the neighborhood, so.
Commissioner Mariano?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paige, I think it's a great project, great selection. I'm glad to see that you're going with the concrete structure as well. I think the company will do a great job for us. These things are definitely needed, but especially there. I just got to ask you one question. Did they get any extra bonus points for being right across from the yoga studio?
I'll look into that, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Well, and Paige, thank you. This isn't my district. Do me a favor, though. I know my dad's in the audience, and he's not elderly, but he is a senior. So maybe we use the word seniors instead of elderly. I know we've even changed our name to Senior Services. I'm just busting your chops, but
No, that's a great
they're
point.
seniors, they're not elderly. So let's,
In my
lose that
defense, that's
verbiage.
FHFC's language.
Okay.
So.
Okay. And it's a great project. Obviously, we already have a motion and a second. I appreciate your support on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks,
Thank
Paige.
you.
Keep up the great job.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, with that, we're going to move to old business, and we'll start with Commissioner Oakley.
I have one thing, well, two things, actually. If you noticed on the northwest corner of the property out here, you've noticed that we've marked it out where the same area that World War II memorial takes up will be for the fallen officers memorial on the northwest corner. And I have a meeting with them this week on Thursday to go over that, to hopefully just move forward and have that balance out that part of the property. And it's a great memorial. You saw pictures earlier, and it's going to be good. So the next thing is, if all of you have noticed that you have monitors in front of you. Some of them don't work, except for the chairman and the vice chairman's work. So
Who are we?
We appreciate it.
Yeah. But we got Eric to thank for the facilities and IT that did all the work to get these in here. You'll notice the new screens, TV screens up on the walls, and once these other monitors are hooked up, you'll notice, like the chairman and I, how good they are, because they're very large and they're very clear. So we have a hard time seeing that up there, but it's a good thing, and it's a move forward. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Moore?
Well, you know, it's great having Commissioner Oakley here. Wherever Eric is, this is like your facilities manager for the courthouse here.
I have to help
He
him.
keeps up with things. So I have just two things. One is an ask, if commissioners, if you remember a few weeks ago, I had mentioned Arthur Drive and asked staff to investigate that. And then in addition to Arthur Drive, there's some surrounding roads in that area too. Staff did their research and due diligence and found out that these are dedicated to the public, but as many of our roads, not accepted for maintenance. I know Dan and his team are looking into that further because we have roads across the county that, again, are dedicated to the public. They're not private roads, dedicated to the public, but we don't do the maintenance on them. If you remember Arthur Road, I hope you do, that had the potholes that I almost got my Suburban stuck in, literally. There was one neighbor that cannot traverse the road and it has to come in from another way because they can't get back and forth. And there's quite a few senior citizens along that road too, and they can't traverse the entire road.
They got it taken care of?
No, that's what I'm gonna ask today. So in addition to, staff looked into this, in addition to Arthur, there were other roads surrounding there that were in desperate need. Lato Drive, Ernest Drive, Isabel Drive, I mentioned Arthur and Tammy Lane. I talked to Dan about accepting it for maintenance, but since he's looking at the policies, I think we're gonna hold off on that. So I'm just asking for a one-time fix, which would be $10K to fix all those roads.
Mr.
So
Chairman,
they'll be drivable.
Commissioner Oakley?
how do we take care, we do that through program maintenance, something like that, a one-time fix?
Yeah, well, a one-time fix comes out of the road budget to do that, so it comes out of your
Okay.
program maintenance budget. In this case, I think the one-time fix for all those roads was about $10,000.
That would be better if we could do them all, yeah.
Yeah, 50% of it was Arthur.
Yeah, about half of it was
And then the
Arthur.
other 50% was the remaining roads.
And again, this is really just filling potholes, it's not repaving these
Yeah.
roads, it's
Oh,
drilling,
I
just filling
understand that,
potholes,
yeah.
so.
But it's where they can, well, I guess emergency vehicles got to be able to go down there
Right,
too.
and again, this
They
was
would have to
a,
drive in a yard.
Yeah, to get by
To get
that,
around.
yeah, right.
this was a 1972, I believe, subdivision where the roads were dedicated to the public, but the board never took the maintenance responsibilities of it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of those out there. We're kind of trying to get our hands around how big that issue is. And then once we get an idea of how big the issue is, develop a plan of, okay, what's the right way to take care of those? Because
Well,
when you go.
I know we have those kind of issues probably all over the county, but you probably see more of them in my district and Mr. Moore's district, because we're more rural over in this area, so.
Well, I
Which is
mean-
changing, so.
But even in the Moon Lake area, there were roads that were platted in the 50s, and they're public roads, and they were
Right.
dedicated, never accepted for maintenance. So they're all over the county.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think
we're
you're
going
right.
to we're trying to get our hands around how big the problem is. Once we know that, then we'll develop a plan and bring it to the board, is what a reasonable plan would be to.
Yeah, it's a sticky
It's a good
situation too, because, you know, we have the PVAS program for the private roads. Well, this isn't a private road. This is a public, this is dedicated to the public.
No, PVAS is not for private roads. PVAS is for non-maintained, it is for the.
Okay, I know what you're
Yeah, it's
saying.
not for
but
private, yeah.
But they're not, quote, public roads as in dedicated to the public like this is.
Well, they're dedicated maintenance. They're
Right.
maintained roads in the.
We don't do a PVAS assessment unless they're public roads.
Yeah.
I know
That's
what you're
right.
saying. I should have said a neighborhood road. Sorry. I know.
Local roads, you're right.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'll use that terminology. Anyways, so I'm making a motion to get this fixed. If I can have a second, I appreciate it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
All right,
carries.
thank you.
Thank you.
And one more thing, just a reminder, and I don't want to steal Dr. O'Neill's thunder, she may mention it too, but this Saturday morning is Making Strides for Breast Cancer. I know myself and Chairman Wells are both two of the Real Men Wear Pink. So we're out there raising money for the cause, and I think
You're
it
doing
starts
it at the mall? The
at
Wiregrass again?
Yep, at the Wiregrass Mall. It begins at 8 a.m., but there is a survivor breakfast, I think at 7 a.m., which I know, are you participating? Yeah, so Dr. O'Neill's participating, I'll be there too. It's a great cause, you can see I have my tie on today. But it's, you know, it's something that we obviously, it's hit home to a lot of people, and we need to recognize that. I know my mother-in-law passed away for breast cancer. My wife has a cousin that's going through it now. I have family members on my side that are going through cancer, and it's never easy. So anything we can do to raise awareness, this is the time to do it. So Saturday morning, 8 a.m., thank you, Strive for Breast Cancer. Stop to Wiregrass. Thank you.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Commissioner Starkey, did you use up your time earlier on that item?
Nope.
Just kidding. Go ahead.
But we did talk about the Panhandling Ordinance, so I don't need to talk about that, and the rental registry, which I was also going to bring up. And we don't mean this to be a burden for those who are good renters and good landlords, but we mean it to be a real pain in the rear for those landlords who are real problems. So I hope that's the outcome of our rental registry. I had a constituent who came to me with a problem with the right-of-way protection ordinance, and I know I've talked to the administrator about this, but I just wanted to bring it up to the board's attention. And I've always had a problem with this ordinance, but I have a number of businesses who have come to me in the last few years about what they perceive are unfair practices of us requiring them to give dedicated right-of-way on a road that we have no intention of widening. And an example is a restaurant called Madison's. It's on Madison and Trouble Creek, and he had to give quite a bit of right-of-way up, which decreased the amount of parking he could have, which decreased the size of the building he could have, which greatly affected his business plan. And as far as I know, we have no intention of widening Trouble Creek. Trouble Creek, when it gets east of Little Road, becomes River Crossing Boulevard. If you've driven on that road, you see a big stretch of grass on the side. And my husband and I once tried to get the neighborhoods all in that area to come together with a master HOA and to put landscaping on the roads. And at that time, I learned that Timber Greens was maintaining that strip in front of their development because it's like the gateway to their development, and we at the county didn't mow it enough. So it costs them tens of thousands of dollars a year to maintain that strip of right-of-way in front of their development. And it wouldn't surprise me if River Crossing isn't mowing the other part more frequently than the county does.
They are.
So they're absorbing
I
that
don't think the
cost.
county does it at all, do they?
I don't know if I've ever seen the county out there.
I think it's all
Yeah, so we've got private, residents paying for county maintenance on a piece of grass, piece of land that we're probably never gonna widen. So I had a gentleman come to me who is developing a parcel on Leonard and Brinson, I think it's called, and he had already donated the right-of-way years ago so that we could have that road, Brinson, which is a service road off of 41, and you might have recalled Leonard is the road I'm trying to get a sidewalk on, because there's no room on one side to walk on, and when the cars come around the corner, they have to jump down a ditch into a wetland to get out of the way of the cars. It's very you cannot get on the curb because the curb is a big angle. As a matter of fact, when I had staff look it up, they said the wetland actually the road is in part of the wetland if you look at the jurisdictional lines on the county map. So, but the staff was asking them to give 60 feet of his property, and then they reduced it. But that was going to be, there was no way they could widen that. There was no way they could widen that road because of that wetland or put a sidewalk on that side. And then I learned that we haven't updated the right-of-way, the ordinance, or what's the right word? We haven't updated the maps.
Tables.
The table since 2005. So I'm really worried that this is just an expense that our community is having to take unnecessarily. So he has to come in now and get a variance so that they don't take as much property as they wanted to. And to me, why should he have to go through that step? The county needs to update those maps. So that's what I was talking about when we talk about the list of stuff you're working on. I just think this is really important, and to not have those tables updated since 2005. Just doesn't sit right with me.
Is that going
Can I-
on right now?
Oh, yeah.
We're asking for 50-foot
Well, depends where,
from center line, or are you talking about 50-foot for the entire road?
It depends on the road,
depends on the road.
in the classification of the road.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to bring that up, too. I'm just kidding. But no, I'd say that's a situation, even like an Old Dixie Highway, up there, they have that issue as far as like someone's trying to go build something, they are being restricted because they want to give up the right-of-way. They can't do anything with the land either, so this is something we've been struggling with across the county, so I think it's a great idea to bring these things back and let's start talking about them.
Yeah, and if our staff needs resources to get those maps updated quickly, let us know. So not only, first we had to take on that they weren't going to widen Leonard to 4 lanes, then I had to take them on a sidewalk, because that would have been a sidewalk to nowhere because of the wetland. So I'm just saying, we really need to update those. I got an email this morning from one of my constituents. I don't know if she's come back with the exact address, but complaining to me, here it is. Dear Ms. Starkey, myself and 2 other neighbors that I know of have contacted code enforcement with pictures of a home between us full of household garbage. We did this last week. Their dogs have ripped the bags open, also added old mattress, grass not cut, under the growth in backyard, our junk cars, and also have one on blocks with no tires. There's rats all over the place. They have not had garbage pickup or hauled any off since they moved here 10 months ago. This is what my constituents are dealing with in the Holiday area, when we don't require people to have garbage pickup. 10 months they've lived there and thrown their garbage in the yard. So who wants to live next door to that? I think that's it.
Commissioner Mariano?
Don't forget Lectures on the Lawn. Friday, November 2nd, we have a new food truck coming, Wicked Chicken Deviled Eggs. So they'll be on site this time, and I hope y'all can make it. It's a great night. This time we're doing it on a Friday night.
Okay, Commissioner Mariano?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaking of events coming up, there's a couple of events coming up at Sun West, and right now I think purchasing in the county is working to get that beach sand in. So I don't know where we stand with that, Mr. Bowles, but you can kind of just keep them moving that thing along, get it through the process. We'd like to have the sand out there for that. I tell you, if you want to meet a great guy, meet Charlie, the new Sun West manager, full of energy, loves that place out there. He goes, I can't believe I get to work here every day. So excited about what's going to happen there. A resident brought to me, I don't know if I brought this up before to the board, so I'm just going to bring it up again because someone else had brought it up. Over at Beacon Woods, there's an old water tower, and this person mentioned to me they think it was probably controlled by the state. It might be condemned, but I see a lot of communities, up and down 19. I think Sarasota's got one, Bradenton's got one, where they take the water towers and they paint something nice on there. Could be a sign, could be just a picture of something motion. I'd like staff to go take a look at the possibilities of that and maybe bring something back to us. It could go through tourist development or whatever, I'm not sure, but just if we could just get something looked at and do some research for us. Next thing, the board had...
Commissioner, on the water tower,
Yes.
that is utilities water tower, or is it?
I don't know whose water tower, and when the person mentioned it was to the state, it kind of says, well, maybe got to do a little bit of homework on who. It's in the back of the Kmart property on Beacon Woods Drive.
So it could have been a private?
That's Mike.
Yes,
Yeah, Mike knows.
we were approached by an organization asking, and I'm not sure if it's this specific water tower, but Pasco County Utilities does not own any water towers, so it would be a private utility or under a different ownership.
It's in the private. It's in the county utility area, so I don't think it's a private utility. It just happens to be there. I'm not sure how it got there, why it got there, who owns it, but if we could just go take a look and try to find out, maybe we can figure out what we could do with it.
We can figure out who owns it, but that's going to be determinative of whether we can do any work on it. If it's not, you can't spend public funds on a private water tower if it's somebody else's. If it's ours, that's a different matter, but just like everything else, you're going to have trouble, you're not going to be able to have funds spent on something that's private property.
I agree, and it may be, like I said, when they said the state condemned it, maybe the state owns it is what, maybe it says, let's go do a little.
If they reach out to us, we'd be happy to point them in the right direction.
Oh, the citizen reached out to me, and I'm reaching out to our staff to go kind of figure out what could be done, who owns it, and how, if there's a way to get it, because it's not doing anything, it's just sitting there.
Very well. Thank
Okay. And Mr. Carbella, I guess I got another question for you, too. On the FGUA, we had put the application in timely for the takeover of the Jasmine Lakes, Palm Terrace, and Zephyr Shores project. From what Representative Mariano was pushing it along, make sure the state wasn't going to sit on it, they say they're waiting on us again for, I guess, some financial capability, that we've got to submit something else to them. So they say there's plenty of money to it. We can get this project done. They won't fund another project until this one's done, but I think if you would move that thing along, because that's ready to go too, as soon as we can show that we can actually do the loan and pay back the loan if need be to move it forward.
Absolutely, I'll check in with the team.
Okay, thank you. And I'll just say one more thing. Thank you again, Mr. Cabrera, Mr. Biles, and Branford for working with the city of Port Richey, the mayor, Vince Lupo. I think Quist Drive is going to get dredged out today. It's an area where the water flows out of Port Richey, gets stopped from a silted area on one side of the canal, silted out and blocked on the other side. With the storm surges coming, at least the water's going to be able to get out there quicker, and I think it's going to happen this afternoon. Secretary Ballenstein gave me word that he's having a drive-by, and I just got a text message that the person from Swiftmud who's going to do a drive-by inspection on it is going to give us the approval to get it moving.
Great.
So it should help the city out in a very big way. We're trying to work for a couple of years on it. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Biles, you have anything?
Actually, I have a couple walk-ons.
Okay.
If that's okay. The first one is a resolution declaring a local state of emergency related to Hurricane Michael.
Mr. Biles, it might be more expeditious if you announce the 3 emergent, or I don't know how many you have. I know there's at least 3 emergent. Two. Do you not have GA Foods, Blackjack, and an LSE? You're not ready to move GA Foods for
I don't know
forward?
about the GA Foods.
Okay. So Blackjack and the LSE,
Right.
if we can get them to move the emergency for both
Okay,
those
yeah.
items, and then
One
you're-
is a amendment, a ratification amendment for an agreement with
Those are your
Blackjack,
emergency.
and then the second one's a
Second.
local state of emergency.
Blackjack, what do you mean?
No, you can't now.
What's he talking about?
I'll walk through
Back
it
to
in a
you,
minute
Chairman.
as we go through. So the first one is the local state of emergency related to Hurricane Michael. You have a copy of the
You
resolution in
never
front of you.
really, we got a call but vote. I made a motion to hear the emergency. Just a second.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Go
All
ahead.
right. All right, the first one is a resolution declaring a local state of emergency related to Hurricane Michael. While the storm has stayed on its forecast track right now, it wobbles a little bit back and forth. It looks like the most impact us will be from some storm surge, west of 19, some threat of some tropical storm winds on the western part of the county. And actually, the rain event looks like it's not going to be anything more than a normal, summer thunderstorm. So, but the storm surge could cause damage, which could require debris removal, et cetera, et cetera. And so this allows us to make sure we have the document in place for if we need any FEMA reimbursement, then we can move forward with that. So,
Move
What?
it.
Second.
All in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
this is not on your regularly scheduled agenda, so I would ask that you take public comment if there is any.
Would anybody like to speak on this item? Seeing no one?
Move for approval.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
How large, can I ask a question? How large is the storm surge, the amount of the water coming?
there's a
4 feet, 8
I
feet?
mean, they're talking there's about a 10% chance that some areas west of 19 could see as much as 3 feet above ground level. There's a potential for water even over US 19. Again, it all depends on when exactly this surge hits. We have a king tide
When the
tonight.
tide comes in.
We have a 3-foot tide tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's, if the storm surge hits roughly that time, you get 3 feet plus 4 to 6 feet. You could be 3 or 4 feet above ground level in certain areas. So,
What level would bring it to 19? Is there a
That was
certain
the
level?
no-name storm we had back in the 90s, so hopefully we don't see.
right, I mean,
Last time
the
we
guy
saw
has
that.
mapped it on GIS, and there is potential up in the north end that there may be some water over 19.
Okay.
Probably not a lot, but I
Yeah.
mean, there is some potential there. So, again, we're not sure what we're gonna see until we see it.
Yeah.
So that's the first item. Thank you. The second item, and I don't know if Kurt or Jane wants to talk to this, is We're requesting you approve an amendment to the agreement for bus advertising program with Blackjack Media Group, ratifying the agreement retroactive to the 9th of August and providing for an extension to February 28th. We're doing this because right now we're out of contract. They still have wraps on some of our buses, and we actually have a solicitation on the street for a new contract. We want to extend this to the end of February to allow the bus wraps to stay there and still collect some revenue. We should be able to go through the procurement process with a new contractor or the existing contractor, whoever wins, right? And have that in front of the board and executed before the end of February, so that the overlap timeframe would be between the 28th of February and the March timeframe. If there's a new contractor, there'd be an overlap in March. So that's what we're requesting today.
Move approval.
Second.
Take
Under-
public comment?
Under discussion.
Okay, does anybody like to speak on this item? Okay, well, I've got a motion and a second. Go ahead, Commissioner Starkey.
Just on principle, I think y'all know where I am on aesthetic issues, and I personally don't like the advertising on the buses. I like the blue buses that advertise Pasco County, so I'm going to vote no. I know I'm in the minority, but that's just, I feel I need to vote my conscience, so
Okay.
I'd rather we didn't do this. I don't mind selling advertising on the inside, but I don't like selling advertising on the outside.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Well, I think it's also important probably to note too is how much are we bringing in a year?
Not a whole lot.
No, it's quite a bit.
More than you think.
So motion carries
Kurt
4-1.
can answer that
You want to
question.
give us some numbers if you could, sir?
Yes, sir. On the average for the contract over the years, it's been about 110,000 is what we've been getting in for that.
That's like 2 FTEs.
I'm sorry?
That's 2 FTEs,
Yes, sir.
2 full-time
Approximately.
employees.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
I mean, that's pretty significant.
Do we sell any advertising on the inside?
It's part of the contract, but I don't think there's been anything recent. I put a lot of public service messages, like Department of Health has some stuff. I know I do some stuff with Kim and some educational things too. But we
That's
do.
2 bus driver salaries.
I still don't like
we
it.
do
And
other
benefits.
stuff.
That's quite a bit.
It's okay. I don't like it.
That's fine. I just wanted
It's hard to
make the point
realize
that
that.
it's
It
significant.
is.
It's significant that we're not having to pull out of general funds to pay for that.
I'm not trying to change anyone's mind.
Commissioner
Just telling you I
Mariano?
don't
Yeah,
like
Mr.
it.
Chairman, what I'd like to see us do in the future too, to show how much money we're making on these buses and to get the breakdown, is like when we do the MPO reports, and you have a chart as far as where the revenues are coming from, I'd like to see a separate one done with the bus advertising, to show
With the
what those
separate line
revenues
item?
truly are, so we can see it as we go through.
I can set that up, no problem, sir.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And that's all I have. Well, actually, one other thing. The Hudson Library, that's one of the libraries that is expanding hours this year with a new budget. And they are going to have a grand opening ribbon cutting ceremony for those new hours on the 22nd at 9:45. And at the same time, that's also where the Studio H, our new recording studio, is at the Hudson Library. And so that will be available for tours as well. So I just wanted to let you know that.
People are thrilled.
And that's all I have.
Okay, Jeff?
No, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Just want to remind everyone, I appreciate Commissioner Moore recognizing the Making Strides Walk on Saturday. We also have a car show on October 20th at the West Pasco Government Center, and I'm hoping that the flyer will be distributed. So thank you very much. Should be fun.
Okay. So with that said, I guess especially with my comment earlier, I've already texted Kathy so we can look into it, but since I am the president of the Feeding Pasco Elderly Board, we probably need to look at rechanging that to Feeding Pasco Seniors. So but we are having our 4th annual Ambassadors Breakfast in the morning. Starts at 7:30 at the Verizon Center. I know Commissioner Stark, you said you'll be there. If you can make it, great. If not, just give me a check. Commissioner Moore, that's fine.
I'm coming.
I'll write a check.
Yeah, we
I'll
appreciate
be
it.
there and I'll bring a check.
Well, that's awesome. Commissioner Mariano, hopefully you can come. It's, we're honoring Mr. Beckish.
Gotta leave at
It's a great thing. I know we've raised almost $200,000 since the inception 4 years ago, so we appreciate the support. And with that, we will reset. Oh,
What, yeah. Sorry,
ahead.
I got something.
I'm
I'm looking on my calendar, and the Two Good Souls shoe and sock ceremony is also tomorrow.
It
And I haven't bought any yet, so I'm gonna go out today and buy some. And we didn't do so hot in our office, I'm just saying. So if anyone wants to bring any to the Feeding Pasco Elderly Senior Citizens Breakfast, I will take them to the Two Good Souls ceremony tomorrow.
Well, and since you're already going to be over there, it's right after our breakfast, so I'm going to be going there. I believe we're all going to be there, so if you have time.
I have a meeting. I
Okay,
gotta come
anyhow,
back to.
but-
Just bring me your shoes and socks
Yeah.
and I'll take them.
Just give them to her now, take them off.
Yeah, just take them off. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I did forget that. And we also have Eric, do we not have the workshop tomorrow on, doing business with Pasco County? I know
Yes.
that's going to be at the
That's
same time.
purchasing.
I'll get there as soon as I can after the shoot drive, but hopefully we're hearing a lot of folks' interest, and so hopefully we have a huge turnout for that.
Yes, Commissioner, we have, I think, last count was about 88 vendors registered to participate, so it should be quite a crowd.
Okay, and it was nice to see on consent today, I saw 2 or 3 local companies. Crockett's Towing is one that stood out, but it's nice to see that we're using our local folks there, so thank you.
Can I bring something up?
Sure, Commissioner Moore.
Thanks. I got an email a little while ago. Unfortunately, it looks like the service road behind Target and Walmart, that's actually in your district, Commissioner Starkey. You guys did a great job of cleaning that up last year. Unfortunately, it's back.
With dumping?
Yes, they're dumping there again. So we got to think of some other, none of the staff's fault by any means, but some other solution out there because they're back at it again. And you guys did a great job of cleaning that place up, but it's back. So hate to do this to you, but if you could send somebody out there maybe sometime today or tomorrow, and I know we have a storm coming, and take a gander at that and see if we could do it again. And maybe we just have to put some more no trespassing or no illegal dumping signs up, or we can maybe talk to the SO. I don't know if Chase is in here. Chase, maybe if possible, maybe some drive-bys through there because it's really bad. What happens, it blocks the road. They're dumping out there and it gets to the point where it blocks the road and cars can't traverse that road at all. And so it's some serious illegal dumping.
Commissioner, since we have a little time, can I bring up something else?
Absolutely, Commissioner.
So today on the agenda, we surplused the old fire station on Mile Stretch. I had talked with the county administrator and met with Premier to see if that could be a location where they could move to, because we have a real situation down on that 19 corridor, if you saw that opioid heat map. And if Congressman Bilirakis just was able to pull down some money to help with drug addiction, and unfortunately, because Premier owns the building in Zephyr Hills, but not on the west side where the main problem is, the money's going over to Zephyr Hills. So he said, he's a little hamstrung on the west side because of where they're located. So I'm trying to find him some land that we can maybe donate. That site was not big enough for him. It's about half an acre, and he needs a couple acres. But I would like to think of, I don't want to sell that property on Mile Stretch yet. I'd like to find some way that we could use that for the community in that area. And I don't know how yet, but I just kind of want to put a little placeholder on that property on Mile Stretch because that area is in need of some more social services, and I'd like to see what we can bring into that half acre to help that community. So if y'all think of anything, let me know. But in the meantime, I just don't want to sell that property yet.
Okay, and since everybody else is saying, so I'm going to say one more thing. And I know Kathy, I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but I know you and Kim met with Pinellas County, I believe, to talk about how they're handling like the opiates and addiction and so forth, and what kind of committee they have together. And I want to make sure that we obviously meet again soon with the providers. And I've had several positive comments of other providers that want to be included in that conversation. So obviously, like we always say, we can do more together and hold each other accountable more. So if you want to just talk a little bit about it, and then maybe we can have an update by the next meeting of the next scheduled workshop.
So yes, we met last week with Jean Hurley. Commissioner Merman was there. And we brought Summer Robertson from Gus Bilirakis' office, myself, Kim Price, Daniel Bergman, and Lori Crankley. They provided us with a lot of information, provided they have lots of dollars, because they have that half-cent tax down there for indigent. So we're going to put something together.
Is that the Children's Board half-cent?
What's that?
The Children's Board half-cent? talking
No, this
about
is for their health. They
in
have
Hillsborough
indigent
County?
health care, and that's what they get there. That whole department is funded by this health half-cent sales tax that was implemented back in the 90s or 70s forever. It never sunsets, so it's wonderful. So we are going to put together, Summer and I, Kim are going to put our brains together, put a stakeholder meeting together, and figure out what the board would like, if they would like to appoint people to that. And we would love to have a commissioner be a champion of that. We also want to partner more with the substance abuse ASAP. I think there should be the lead on this, not the county. That's just our personal opinion, but we will get more into that. I know ASAP has sent a letter, or will be sending a letter, asking for a board representation from the commissioners to serve on their board, and we're going to work closely with them. They're doing a lot of the great things now and writing grants and things, so we're going to get that more involved, and we want Human Services and the county to be more involved with that ASAP, so stay tuned.
Well, don't leave yet, because I had lunch with Mike Napier, and I think I told you, and I don't remember his title. I've known him for a long time, but I think he's the head of behavioral health for Baycare, and now his name is going to escape me.
Is it Joe something, or?
I don't know who
He's
that
a
is.
psychiatrist. Sorry, his name's escaped me. We talked about the problem of opioid addiction and that 19 corridor, and that we're throwing a thought out there of going for a federal grant that would do a lot of things in that area, to look at, there's all kinds of things that we can wrap up into some kind of pilot program. If pilot's not the word they want, they want another word, but we've got the opioid addiction. We have more children being taken away from families than any other place in the county, and those numbers are rising. We have depressed market values on the housing. We have pedestrian fatalities out on the road. We have a lot of crime, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some things, Title I schools. So it's just a whole area that needs some big attention, and it was brought to my attention about the project that Mr. Rosen did in Orlando. And actually, I've been over there and I've met with Mr. Rosen, where he adopted a whole community. And I think we should take a look at that project that he did, and maybe talk to Mr. Rosen and see if we can't get a real comprehensive program going that's in a big community.
If I can just add one more thing. So the Hillsborough County, Jean Hurley, Director of the Medical Services over there, is going to be presenting their full plan on October 17th to their BCC. As soon as they have that and adopted, they're going to zip it on to us, so we can have something to be looking at too. So
Yeah, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. I know we all
Exactly.
care, we all want,
We have to do something.
we're all committed to doing more. We have to do more. It
We have
isn't
to
going to
do
fix
more.
itself, so I'm excited for the future. It starts with us, quite frankly, and ends with us, and I think we're being held accountable, and everyone else should be too. So it's a very positive, and I have no doubt that we're going to see
Absolutely.
success. So,
Sounds
thank you.
good. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will adjourn until 1:30. Thank you. Heard a few phones out there. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to call back to order the Pasco County Board of County Commissioners meeting of October 9th. I would like to remind everyone, I heard a couple cell phones. Please make sure they're silent, and if that's what you were doing, thank you. Now is the time for resolutions. Madam Clerk, would you please read the first resolution? And everyone want to come forward, please?
Is there anyone here representing the Fire Prevention Week?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we have a
Good.
few. Hope there's not a fire
Excellent.
now, because we'll be in trouble.
Wonderful. Resolution number 1907. Whereas the Pasco County Fire Rescue Department is dedicated to ensuring the safety of all those living in and visiting our county from the devastating effects of fire. And whereas fire is a serious public safety concern both locally and nationally, and homes are the locations where people are at greatest risk from fire. And whereas the majority of fire deaths in the United States, 4 out of 5, occur in homes each year. And whereas according to the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, in 2016, 2,735 people died from home fires nationally, and in 2017, 4 died from home fires in Pasco County. And whereas Pasco County residents should identify places in their homes where fires are most likely to start and eliminate those hazards. And whereas smoking alarms cut the risk in half of dying in a home fire. And whereas smoke alarms should be installed in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home. And whereas Pasco County Fire Rescue is dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas 2018 Fire Prevention Week effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Pasco County Fire Rescue. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby proclaims October 7th through 13th, 2018 as Fire Prevention Week in Pasco County, and urges all citizens to practice their home fire escape plans. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 9th day of October 2018, signed by the board.
Move for approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Well, it seems like we've seen a lot of all of you these last few months for good reason. So, and I'm sure everybody wants to say a few words, but thank you truly for everything you do. You know, without you all, without our folks feeling safe in their homes and knowing that you're all there when needed. And again, it all comes down to awareness and the social media push and what you all have done. I mean, it's been unbelievable. So thank you. So really, truly thank you. So Commissioner Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, again, thank you, first responders. Appreciate this resolution today. And, you know, at a presentation we just had earlier in the week at Sea Ranch, you guys talked about a Knox box system. I hope to bring that forward. That might be another thing to get them in front of us as well.
Absolutely.
And Chief, we're going to give you a chance. Don't worry.
Don't worry, Chief. He's itching up there, isn't he? You're itching to talk. No, but thank you to everyone, you know, the women and men, obviously, of Pasco Fire Rescue. We're so appreciative of everything you do for us on a day-to-day basis. Can't even talk today. And it's good, and I'm sure you, Chief, you can attest to this, that, you know, this board is obviously funding a lot of things that weren't funded in the past, and i.e. the new ladder truck, which was very much needed as we continue to go more vertical in Pasco County, adding stations. So, you know, you're growing, your department's growing, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you.
Commissioner Oakley.
Yep. Without saying that all of this board supports you and all your people working in the fire department and doing all that you do, we really appreciate everything you do day to day. And it has been just here lately that I went out for a groundbreaking for station number 38, and it's a great thing. It's a 4-bay station, huge, $3.3 million infrastructure, but an area that's really growing very fast, and it needs that station and needs all of your help, you know, keeping it safe out there for our citizens. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And your chief did a great job last night talking about the Go bond referendum, and we know we have an important ballot coming up, and hopefully you'll see renovations at a lot of those fire stations, and we can get you modernized and more comfortable in your stations. And I'm grateful I haven't had to call anybody to my house in the last few years. We did have to go to the emergency hospital 2 days ago, but we drove ourselves so many times. When I had my kids at home, I had to call you guys for broken legs and whatever. So, always a great job, and we're just grateful for all you do for our citizens.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Well, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you all for the nice comments. I'm not going to steal all of Chief Thompson's thunder, but the team that I have behind me here today, this represents the Community Risk Reduction Division, or formerly known as the Fire Prevention Division, as you may remember. But this group is responsible for ensuring the safety of all of our commercial occupancies throughout Pasco County, starting all the way back to when a project is first proposed,
through the plans review process, the on-site inspections, and then thereafter annual inspections for those businesses that need it. We also have a fire investigations team here as part of this group, so they represent a big chunk of what we do in making sure that our citizens are as safe as can be from fire. Now, I don't want to, like I said, I wasn't going to steal all the thunder, so I'm going to leave a little bit for Chief Thompson, who's our walking encyclopedia of everything fire code. So I'm going to let you talk. Trade places with you.
Well, thank you, Commissioners, for your support, and thank you, citizens of Pasco County. Today is October 9th, which 147 years ago today, the Great Chicago Fire was in its second day. It burned 4 square miles, destroyed 17,000 buildings, and killed 250 people. Fire Prevention Week was attached to the Great Chicago Fire. And this was in a period of time in this country where we did not have codes. And during that from the Civil War up through the early 1900s, we learned the importance of building codes and why they're why they're needed. And so this kind of commemorates a change in philosophy in America that occurred on this day. Also on this day, the Great Pasco Fire in Wisconsin, also 3 other brush fires or woodland fires in Michigan, but the Pasco, Wisconsin fire killed 1,700 as a wildland fire. So this was a bad day in fire in 1871, and we hope we never see another day like that. But thank you all for your support, and we certainly appreciate all you do for us.
Okay, we can just come down and we'll give them this and I'll get some pictures. Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak first? Are we good? Yeah, I think we're good. Okay, just making sure, Chief.
How we doing?
Thank you. How you doing, sir? Thank you very much. How are you doing? Good to see you.
Big group. All right, everybody. Looking right here. 1, 2. You got long arms. Well, this is me. Well, is that you want to see it on again? Don't blame me. So 1 point.
You almost won.
Very good.
3 flash shots. Yeah, sure.
UCF next.
Yes, go UCF.
Thank you guys. Thanks, sir. Running around at UCF.
One point is still a win. No, I agree. Trust me, that game, I watched it and I'm like, oh, Florida State, they got it. I'm like, and then all of a sudden I get like an alert. I'm watching something else. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
1 point is still a win. We'll take it.
All right, go take your family and have
We're looking to go up.
Okay.
Still gotta get Ralph more focused.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you want to.
I did a Facebook post. This is why I don't do Facebook.
Is there anyone here representing National Hispanic Heritage Month? If so, please come forward.
Okay, there we go. Be bashful. Come on. Yeah. Come on, we want a speech from everybody, but it's okay.
Yeah, Paul, I was going to say whoever, yeah, employees as well, yeah, thank you.
Paul, you can come up too.
Okay, resolution number 1902, Whereas in September 1968, Congress authorized President Lyndon B. Johnson to designate a week in September as National Hispanic Heritage Week. In 1988, the observance was expanded to a month-long celebration from September 15th until October 15th by President Ronald Reagan. And whereas with the term Hispanic or Latino referring to Spain, Mexico, and the Spanish-speaking nations of Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, Hispanic Americans have helped shape our communities and have had profound influences through a strong commitment to family, faith, and community, enduring work ethic, and their many contributions to society, including serving as part of the Pasco County team. And whereas as of 2017, 57.5 million people, or 18% of the American population, were of Hispanic or Latino origin. This represents a significant increase from 2000, which registered the Hispanic population at 35.3 million, or 13% of the total U.S. population. And whereas written records about life in Florida began with the arrival of the Spanish explorer Juan Ponce de Leon in April of 1513. Ponce de Leon set ashore on the northeast coast of Florida, possibly near present-day St. Augustine. He called the area La Florida. I don't know if it was really pronounced that way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did good.
In honor of Pascua Florida, Festa de Flowers, Spain's Easter time celebration. Today, St. Augustine is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the United States. And whereas the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce estimates there are more than 266,000 Hispanic businesses operating in Florida, ranking the Sunshine State third behind California and Texas. Goods produced in Florida account for 23% of all United States exports to Latin America and the Caribbean, higher than any other state, and 53% of all Florida origin exports go to the Latin American Caribbean region. In 2013, over 6.3 million travelers visited from Florida, from Mexico, the Caribbean, visited Florida from Mexico, the Caribbean, Central, and South America. And whereas, according to the United States Census in Pasco County, the Latino community population is over 65,000. During National Hispanic Heritage Month, we recognize their contributions and the important presence of Hispanic and Latino Americans in our county, and celebrate their heritage and culture. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board joins in paying tribute to the generations of Hispanic Americans who have positively influenced and enriched our nation and society, and proclaims September 15th through October 15th, 2018, as National Hispanic Heritage Month in Pasco County, and calls upon public officials, educators, librarians, and citizens to observe Hispanic Heritage Month with the appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 9th day of October 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody like to say a few words to the board?
So, thank you so much for that, and I actually find it really funny that all of us right here are women from different generations and different countries. So we're just representative of a segment of the community, but we're very happy to be here and continuing to contribute to the betterment of Pasco County. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you. We're honored to do this, and thank you for everything. If the board wants to come down, we'll get a picture real quick. I know we have 17 more to do after this one, but there's nothing more important than this one about the fire, so. Just and the 4-H. So in other words, they're all just as important. Yeah. Hey, how are you doing? Come on back and see. Back photo, away from that.
What is it, like, where are the men?
Paul, are you in charge of these?
Some of you ladies need to move up in the front if you would, because you're not going to see
We just use the back row, they're all taller than everybody else. We just put you back in there. There.
Get in there. There we go.
Jack, can I get you right between these two? do the slice once for me, and once for Facebook. Yeah, this is from our recon. Ready, set, first one. And second one. All right.
I've since fixed it. Look at my post up here.
I'm just messing. Just messing with you. As far as Catherine only has one.
Round came over.
Catherine, you sure you don't want to add any more resolutions? You only have one. You sure you don't
No,
want-
that's
Let's
yours,
do,
actually.
Can we
Well, we're
do?
gonna, it's title only. They're not here, so.
Okay, but it's under you, not me.
And,
Oh, no, it's under
and
you.
the other one?
I know, but that's a
and then do
mistake.
the
I am
4-H
clear.
officers
Well, they're
last.
good. Lighthouse, yeah.
Is that, I mean,
Commissioner,
is that the way it
commissioner and
is?
everything.
Let's just do it. Yeah, that's the way it is. Let's do the first two and we'll go down for pictures of the first
Is
two.
there anyone here representing Local Food System Month in Pasco? If you could come forward, please.
Dr. Elmore.
Dr. Whitney, yes.
Oh, look at there. Got a group.
And her, yeah, awesome.
I'll go down there. I'll go down there and represent.
That's
I guess
okay.
that's a vote, don't I?
Yep, you're gonna go down there in a minute.
Yeah, I represent for my blueberries and my blackberries.
Okay, Resolution 1903. Whereas a food system is a path that food travels from field to fork. It includes the growing, harvesting, processing, packaging, transporting, marketing, consuming, and disposing of food products. And whereas having a local food system significantly affects public health, land use, economy, and quality of life in our community. And whereas when a strong local food system is in place in Pasco County, is able to provide healthier, fresher food to the local citizens. And whereas we have the opportunity to support local farmers and business owners when purchasing our foods locally, which puts money back into our own economy. And whereas providing job training and entrepreneurship in fields that support a strong and resilient local food system increases residents' access to healthy, affordable food in Pasco County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares the month of October as Local Food System Month in Pasco County and recognizes that all residents of Pasco County should have access to nutritious, affordable, locally and sustainably grown food. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 9th day of October, 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Dr. Elmore, we'll let you speak in a second, but I want to thank you for all that you do and all the master gardeners and everybody involved in the community with 4-H and preparing the food systems that we have and the new gardening. But I'll let you explain about the gardening and how well that's going, and I appreciate everything you're doing, so.
Thank you, sir. Before I get started, something really important, the Gators won this last weekend. They beat LSU, by the way. I just had to throw that in. I heard a little bit of FSU talk.
We
in
have a
there,
big
so
game coming up.
I just had to throw that in there real
No,
quick.
Doctor, we were talking about UCF.
UCF. Okay, well, we kind of.
That's the team in the top.
They
10.
don't play a real
We'll-
schedule, that's
we'll
all I'm
let-
saying.
Team ranked in the
well,
top 10.
I'm not going to get into this discussion at this point.
You started it.
Typical
Touche,
Gator.
touche.
Typical Gator.
Just wanted to take, I won't belabor this at all, but I really do appreciate everyone recognizing October as Local Food System Month. This is a very important endeavor, a direction that we are trying to head with extension to ensure that folks understand we do have a local food system in place and one that we need to hold on to. We have a very strong heritage in Pasco County in the food system and one that we need to expand. So that just at the end of that resolution where we talked about the fact that everybody has access to healthy and a sustainable and a secure food source. So we're working to do this in a wide variety of ways. University of Florida and obviously Pasco County Board of County Commissioners are helping us do that in many ways. And we've got folks here representing our office, representing Master Gardeners, 4-H, Definitely have our livestock agent over here that is certainly helping with a part of that food system. We even have folks that have come all the way from Temple Terrace to show their support for this resolution and how important it is.
Because they have a food, they have a community garden ordinance, or what are they? And they have backyard chickens, don't they?
I believe so down that way. I know they're from the garden. They are from
Terrace.
the community garden. They have a community
Yes.
garden there in Temple
Yeah.
Terrace that they're here representing. So really do appreciate that we're getting representation even outside of our own county for this. So just really do appreciate it. I don't know if anybody else had anything they wanted to say, but I appreciate our master gardeners being here. We kicked off this month with Gardening 365 in the city of San Antonio this last Saturday.
Yep, I missed
We had
that.
about 1,000 people there. And this kicked off this whole month because the theme was edible landscaping. And we'll be rounding out this month on October 20th at Pasco Hernando State College from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock with a local foods conference.
East side or west side?
East side in Dade City. So it is our first local food conference, and we're going to be talking about and highlighting the production of eggs, hops, beer production, even in Pasco County, all the way to the blueberries, and everything in between, and of course, kumquats. We can't forget kumquats.
You might not be aware that our blueberries went to Big Storm and they made blueberry beer.
Yes,
Which
ma'am.
sold out very quickly and we didn't get to try it.
Oh, well, that's a good problem to have. But we also have a local brunch that's going to be offered that day as well. So all the foods will be sourced locally. And we have Chef Pumo from Benedetto's that'll be catering that for us. And he grows his own.
Yeah, it does.
So this is a very good example of what we're doing and what we can do in Pasco County with our local food system. So thank you.
I just had an idea. Is it okay to talk right now?
I guess it is, yes, ma'am.
So, we have a short schedule today. You know how, I don't know if you know, but at the jail, they have a trades class for the inmates, and they make picnic tables and they sell them. Why don't we ask the jail if they can make raised planter beds and sell those?
Okay. All right.
Yep, let's see.
Yeah, I
Sounds
would
like
buy
a great
some.
idea.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With the UCF logo on it.
What I'd like to do, because the next resolution, if I could get the clerk to read the next resolution, then we'll all go down and have a picture with them for the food system. I know I got two more, but I'm gonna leave the last one with the two young ladies for last. We'll have to go back down, but number
Okay.
two
If that's
resolution,
okay
let's
with
go
you,
ahead and
Mr.
do it, and then
Chairman?
we'll go down for a picture.
That's
Okay,
absolutely
resolution number 1905. Is there anyone else here representing National 4-H Week? Okay, we have a few more who will join.
Probably those girls,
These beautiful ladies.
which we're gonna recognize on the third resolution.
Okay, resolution number 1905, whereas 4-H started in 1902 with the original motto of head, heart, hands, and health. And whereas 4-H is the nation's largest youth development and mentoring organization with nearly 6 million members, 399 of which are here in Pasco County. And whereas the 4-H Youth Development Program has served young people ages 5 through 18 in our state and in Pasco County since 1909. And whereas Pasco County's 4-H Youth Development Program's mission is to use a learn-by-doing approach to help youth gain the knowledge and skills they need to be responsible, productive citizens. And whereas to achieve its mission, 4-H accesses the expertise and resources of the University of Florida and a nationwide network of cooperative extension service faculty and staff. And whereas the 4-H program has broadened its program areas to encompass not only agriculture and animal science, but also public speaking, technology, wildlife, forestry, water conservation, engineering, and many other topics of interest to today's youth. And whereas 4-H youth and volunteers devote thousands of hours in service to their communities, participating in activities like coastal cleanup, hurricane relief efforts, making pillowcase dresses, and for little girls in Haiti, making gift baskets and doing arts and crafts at nursing homes. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby declares October 1st to the 7th, 2018 as National 4-H Week, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present, voting this 9th day of October 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I don't know who the spokesman is for this, Dr. Elmore again, or?
I will.
Oh, you will? So, okay. Well, that's great. One thing I'd like to say, and I was talking to Montana Smith and Kata earlier, and when you go see FFA and you go see 4-H clubs working, it is amazing to me at the young ladies that step up in leadership positions that used to not be there as much. But today, they're quite prevalent in leadership positions, 4-H and FFA, which is fantastic. So, go ahead.
Well, I thank you for recognizing National 4-H Week. I wanted to let you guys know that the first 4-H clubs started in this county in 1909. And kind of to tie in with the food systems, we have documentation that in 1909, 4-H youth from Pasco County won the national corn growing contest with the bushel of corn. So that kind of fits in. Some of you might not know that 4-H started to teach young people how to grow and preserve the food that was raised. And it also taught, because you sometimes, when we get a little older, we get stuck in our ways. And the idea was is you teach the kids how to do it, and they showed the parents how different fertilizers and rotations, and the kids actually were yielding more corn than the adults were, so that got them to look at some more research-based stuff. And then speaking of research, I'm working on a research thing right now on the economic value contribution of 4-H youth projects. And right now, just the value of the livestock projects in Pasco County is looking at that it's about a $750,000 economic value to the county with all the youth participating in projects. So when we get this all finalized, we'll be glad to share it with you. But we thank you for recognizing 4-H, and hopefully 4-H will continue for over another 100 years, because as society changes and needs change, so does 4-H.
Right.
Nice.
It's really good for our youth. My daughter did 4-H for a while.
Yeah.
So she really
It's a
enjoyed
good
it when she was
program.
involved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it lets the kids be responsible for their projects no matter what it is.
Yes, it works out really great, so.
Awesome.
If the board will join me, we'll go down and take pictures now.
Sure.
Don't have one yet.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Why don't you? They're better with this crowd.
Congratulations. Are you? Give me a small crowd. Public Right. So you can be seen. Yeah.
A lot of tall people down here.
Tall people.
Yeah.
Not that one.
Is that the last one? No. Okay, write it down.
Here, it doesn't matter. Here, I'll stand right here.
Go no. Love that phone.
You see how the crush on
University of Florida does a lot for Pasco, so I'm okay.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
I don't like their football team.
What? They won.
3 flashes.
I'm glad they won. I want them to be high when we beat them. We've actually beat
Thank
them
you.
for years now.
And we just had affirmative action training on Monday,
Yeah.
and we don't discriminate, that includes
Montana.
other topics.
Okay, y'all stay. Montana.
Good. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, the next resolution is 1906. Whereas in the past 20 years, Pasco County's 4-H clubs have had 9 young adults elected to represent the youth of Florida on a statewide level. And whereas Montana Rose Smith, 18, has been elected by the 2018-19 4-H State Council President by her, elected the 2018-19 4-H State Council President by her peers and fellow 4-H members. And whereas Kada Mulalele, 15, has been elected the 2018-19 4-H State Council Reporter. And whereas as the 4-H State Council President, Montana Rose Smith serves as a role model for the members of the club and exhibits exceptional leadership skills while representing all of the youth of Florida. And whereas as the State 4-H Council Reporter, Kada Lila has numerous responsibilities ranging from reporting on club activities, members, and leaders to local news outlets to writing the 4-H newsletter and reports on club events and activities. And whereas Montana Rose Smith has been an active 4-H club member in our community for 10 years, known for her public speaking skills and her success in showing goats. And whereas Kada Mueller-Lila has been an active 4-H club member for 8 years, also known for her public speaking and her accomplishments in community service. And whereas these special and talented young ladies, Montana and Kada, have been elected by their peers to represent the best of 4-H and youth in Pasco County and all of Florida. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, that said board hereby recognizes Montana Rose Smith and Kada Mueller-Lila for being elected as 4-H State Council officers and representing Pasco County on a statewide level, done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting. This 9th day of October, 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Girls, to say the least, we're very proud of you. You're our homegrown leaders that are going to be out there for 4-H, and a lot of people, a lot of your peers will be watching you and hoping that you do the job they expect you to do, and I'm sure both of you will. If y'all would like to say something, then we'll come down after you get through and have a picture.
Montana and I, 4-H is such a special part, holds a special part in our hearts and lives, because if it wasn't for 4-H and Montana herself, I would not be able to stand in front of you today. And 4-H is just so special to us and has changed our lives in many, many ways that we never thought could have. So thank you very much for recognizing us today.
Thank you.
And Florida 4-H. Thank you very much.
Montana wants to speak?
4-H has definitely been a huge part of my life and has definitely helped me develop who I am today. I used to be a shy little 9-year-old who just wanted to show my dairy goats, but now I want to be on the stage, behind the podium, talking and kind of guiding our youth across the state. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for 4-H and for us.
Thank you.
Well done.
The board adjourned.
Are we going to make her an ag at 4? I actually want to make her
We're shooting like this, so come on, we'll go first. Okay? All right, up first this time, all right? Okay, look at me. Tilt that, just a little. There we go, that was very funny. And now, face forward. Pocket. First one. Looking up here, ready, set. That's for me, now for everybody else. Wow.
Montana and Canada with a set of luggage, because they'll be traveling across the state and nationally. So we wanted to make sure that they were traveling right, and of course, it's green for 4-H.
Yeah, it looks good, 4-H great.
Is Ronnie in this picture?
You'll have to, if you look at Pasco County, you will see people you know in there, okay? See if you can recognize who they are.
Looks good. It's Ronnie's picture. That's terrible.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
Well,
19,
payback's
that's
gonna
like
be tough.
1860 or something.
No, I'm just messing.
Oh, it's 1902.
After this meeting, they need to talk to you. Mr.
This
Chairman.
one you want?
Yes.
Out back.
Is anyone here representing the Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired?
Nope, just title
Okay.
only and I'll get it to them.
Thank you. Resolution number 1904, a resolution by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, declaring October 15th, 2018 as Lighthouse White Cane Day in Pasco County. Done and resolved in regular session with the quorum present and voting this 9th day of October, 2018, signed by the board.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much.
There's nobody here.
Okay, we will now proceed with the public hearing agenda, starting with item P1 of ordinances. Madam Clerk, do we have proof of item P1?
We do. Tampa Bay Times, September 21st, 2018.
Christy Sims with the County Attorney's Office. Commissioners, this is the item, final public hearing on switching appeals of demolition determinations from the Construction Board to a hearing officer. This item is in two parts. The first is a public hearing on an ordinance by the Board of County Commissioners of Pasco County, Florida, amending Chapter 79, demolition of slum or blighted structures, revising the appeal process, providing for applicability, providing for repealer, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing an effective date. What we're asking the board to do is to accept public comment, adopt the amendments, the ordinance by roll call vote, authorize the chairman's signature to the amended ordinance, and direct board records to transmit the amendments to the Department of State by electronic mail within 10 days after adoption of the amendments. After public hearing and adoption, if agreed by the board, we are then asking the board to adopt Resolution 19-01, which establishes the proposed fee for an appeal, the form, and the appeal procedures to be used in front of the hearing officer.
Okay, any questions for Christie? This is a public hearing. I do not have anyone signed up to speak on this item. If you'd like to speak on this item, come forward, please. Seeing no one, it's to the board.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, it's a roll call vote.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley.
Aye.
District 2, Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey. Aye. District 5, Commissioner Mariano.
Aye.
District 4, Chairman Wells.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Having the resolution passed, if we could get a motion, or having the ordinance passed, can we get a motion on the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, P2 has been withdrawn. Do we still need proof? No?
No, it's
Okay.
withdrawn.
Okay.
Would you like it?
And these we have to go through, so procedures and
Procedures,
rezone. Okay.
sure.
Next, we'll proceed with procedures and rezoning. Mr. Steinschneider, if you could please review them.
There are two rezoning agendas, regular and consent. Staff will present each application to the Board of County Commissioners. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended approval and there's no opposition, the application will be considered by the board without further presentation. If staff or Planning Commission has recommended denial, or if there is opposition to the application, the applicant will be given 5 minutes for presentation. The opposition will be given 3 minutes for each individual or 5 minutes for a group representative, and the applicant will be given 3 minutes for rebuttal. Any individual disagreeing with staff or planning commission recommendation or anyone wishing to object to any condition of the rezoning may at this time request that the petition be pulled from the consent agenda, in which case that application will be heard under the regular agenda later on during the meeting. Otherwise, all rezoning applications on the consent agenda will be approved by a single motion vote. If you wish to speak to any petition, please give your name and address and whether or not you've been sworn for the record. These are quasi-judicial public hearings. The law in Florida is that mere public support or opposition of an application is insufficient for this board to take action. Please limit your comments to those criteria found within the board's land development code.
Okay, thank you. And P3 is also withdrawn, so P4, do we have proof, Madam Clerk?
Do you want me to swear people
Sure, you can. Sorry.
If you're going to speak about any item on the agenda in the public hearings, rezonings, you could stand up and I can swear you in. Thank you. Do you feel all alone? Okay. We have others. You could raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, we have...
proof for P4, yes.
P4.
Yes, ma'am.
We do have proof, Tampa Bay Times, August 24th, 2018.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Denise Hernandez, P4 is PDD 18 CU 37 in the name of ABMM2 LLC, Board and Brush. This is for the sale of alcoholic beverages, beer and wine only, on-premises consumption in conjunction with the operation of an art studio in a C2 district. This comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions from both the Planning and Development Department and the Planning Commission.
Okay, if there's anyone speak in opposition to this item, please come forward. Seeing no one, it's the only consent item, so if we could just have a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Do we have proof from P5, Madam Clerk?
We do. Tampa Bay Times, June 22nd, 2018.
Good afternoon, Denise Hernandez, Planning and Development. Before I start on this item, I would like to ask that some letters of objection that were received after your packet was published. One is a letter of objection from Mr. Stephen Futch that was received on September 30th. It went to all the board members. Just want to make sure that the clerk has it for the record. And then there was another letter of opposition that was received this morning from Glenn and Gail Greenfelder, and I also want to ensure that those are part of the record, if I may.
Do you have it?
I don't believe they have it, so I want to give them to the clerk. The commissioners all have
I'm
it.
not aware of them.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion
Thank
carries.
you.
Thank you, Denise.
Okay, so item P5 is a conditional use in the name of Terry D. and Mary McKnight. I want to bring to your attention that this conditional use, I'm going to go through the process. It does have two different recommendations, a recommendation of denial from Planning and Development Department and a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission, approval with conditions rather from the Planning Commission. It was a 3-2 vote on that item. So I'm going to go over the reason why we're here, go over the item, go over the reasons for denial from the Planning and Development Department, and go over the reasons of approval with conditions from the Planning Commission. So this is a conditional use for a 110-foot observation tower in an AR agricultural residential district. Parcel is located in northeast Pasco County. Access to the site is from St. Joe Road. Surrounding zoning is agricultural residential with a master plan approved for 70 lots and with some parcels that are within the city limits of Dade City, with some parcels to the southeast that were approved for approximately 370 single-family dwellings. Future land use is Res 3, 3 dwelling units per acre. Here's the aerial of the property. This is where the proposed 110-foot observation tower is proposed to be located on the parcel, surrounded by a treed area in the landing of a treed area. Here is the proposed site plan showing the setbacks from property lines and adjacent parcels. The reason why we're here, and if this looks familiar, it's because it is. On January 4, 2016, the applicant submitted for a building permit for a 110-foot observation tower. At that time, I determined that a 110-foot observation tower is not a principal permitted or accessory use in the agricultural residential district. The applicants filed a timely appeal of the determination in accordance with the Land Development Code. On July 12, 2016, the Board of County Commissioners denied the appeal and upheld the zoning administrator's determination, and also entered a finding that the observation tower could be considered an uncertain classification, as it has similar characteristics to a Tier 3 wireless communications facility, which is considered a conditional use in the agricultural residential district. For that reason, the applicant has submitted an application for a conditional use because the board made the finding that it's a similar use to a wireless communication facility, which is a listed conditional use in the agricultural residential district. On July 19, 2018, the applicant held an informational meeting at the site. There were comments received from Dade City. Dade City, while not objecting to the item, not formally objecting to the item, they stated that they had concerns with intrusion of privacy from the tower to adjacent residentially zoned parcels and developed land that has already been entitled for development, undeveloped, I'm sorry, that's been entitled for development, and that their comprehensive plan has policies that encourage the city to protect neighborhoods from incompatible development. We have received several letters of no objection. Didn't go into the reasons for a no objection because the letters just basically said they don't have an objection. We have received letters of objection. The reasons for objection are that they're inconsistent with the character of the area, including the land use patterns, concern that property values will be affected, concern that this request is a breach or invasion of privacy, concern that it would create hazardous conditions and it's not in the interest of the public good, and also that the tower is a commercial structure which is not appropriate in a non-commercial area. So again, we'll first go through staff Planning and Development Department recommendation, and then we'll go through the Planning Commission recommendations. So the Planning and Development Department has reviewed the request for consistency with the comprehensive plan, specifically Future Land Use Policy 1.10.1, which requires us to evaluate existing uses of land, zoning, and future land uses, including the existing and potential densities and intensities. We find that it's inconsistent with the existing uses of land, the future land uses, and the densities and intensities in the area. The surrounding area, as I've stated, the land use is Res 3, 3 dwelling units per acre. Particularly in the city of Dade City, there have been higher densities that have been approved in that area, with some developments with 300 or more single-family dwellings that would be very near this parcel. And it's not compatible with the residential character of the area. It's inconsistent. One of the other things that we have to do is we have to consider the existing development patterns and approved development in the area. As previously stated, it's not consistent with the existing pattern of development and approved development in the area, including that there is an approved PUD consisting of 350 residential units within the Dade City limits under the name of Suwannee Lakeside, and then there's also an approved single-family subdivision for 79 home sites under the name of McConey Pashley. The proposed conditional use request for 110-foot observation tower is inconsistent with the Land Development Code Section 402.3.F for the following reasons. It's not consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comprehensive plan elements or applicable portions thereof. The proposed use will adversely affect or contribute to the deterioration of quality of life or property values in the immediate neighborhood. The proposed use is inconsistent with the character of the surrounding area, including existing land use patterns. The site upon which the conditional use is to be located cannot be buffered or screened to prevent interference with surrounding properties, as the tower, top tower area will go way beyond the tree canopy in the area, as the tree canopy generally is within about 50 or 60 feet in height, and the landing of the tower is at about 110 feet. So the Planning and Development Department's recommendation was to deny the subject conditional use. Now we're going to go over the Planning Commission recommendation, which is approval with conditions. It was a 3-2 vote at the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission found that the subject request is consistent with the comprehensive plan and with the Land Development Code, considering that the following conditions are placed on the approval. And I'm going to go over the conditions and as quickly as I possibly can. The Planning Commission found that, believe it's a total of 17 conditions. First condition being that the observation tower be restricted to 110 feet in height above ground level, to not have any embellishments or appurtenances added to the observation tower that increase the observation tower height or the footprint of the observation tower. That the observation tower be located in conformance with the conceptual site plan submitted by the applicant, including the locations and setbacks attached and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. I think I can show those. So pretty much the northern setback is over 700 feet. The eastern setback over 190 feet, western setback 118 approximately, and the southern setback, I believe that says 141. No, actually a little bit more than that, but I can't read from here. But that's in your concept plan attached. Third condition, commercial use of the observation tower to be prohibited. Fourth condition, in the event of a natural disaster or other event that causes the surrounding tree canopy to be destroyed or substantially diminished, as determined by the county administrator or designee, the observation tower shall be removed within 90 days of such occurrence or determination. Removal shall include the removal and disposal of all material and equipment related to the observation tower in a manner consistent with best practices. The site shall be restored to the condition that existed prior to the erection of the observation tower. If the observation tower is not removed within the 90 days, the county may have the observation tower removed at the applicant's expense. Condition 5, all surfaces on the observation tower, including the roof and the entire inside of the top room cabin, shall be painted a shade of green that is substantially similar to the color attached hereto as Exhibit B, dark green. Any areas that show signs of fading, wearing thin, or chipping off must be immediately repainted. The dark green color must be consistent throughout the structure, and other colors are not permitted. Here is attachment B. This was obtained from the applicant, who stated he will be painting it a color called billiard green. Condition 6, observation tower shall be maintained so as to present a neat, clean appearance. Painted areas and surfaces shall be kept in good condition. Observation tower shall be maintained in safe and good working order. The applicant shall ensure proper maintenance of the observation tower. Condition 7, except for cell phones, electric and plumbing on the observation tower shall be prohibited. This includes lighting or any type of power source to include electric power, battery, solar, etc. Condition 8, except for cell phones, electronic devices of any type that are audible to the public or capable of recording the public are prohibited, including music systems, public announcement systems, surveillance equipment, remote cameras, and recording equipment. Condition 9, no lights, solar panels, or reflectors of any kind shall be affixed to the observation tower in any manner. Condition 10, conditional use shall be limited to the current owners, applicants Terry D. and Mary M. McKnight, and shall not run with the land. Conditional use shall expire if the property is transferred or sold, in which the case the conditional use shall become null and void. Removal of the observation tower shall be complete within 90 days of the sale or transfer of the property, and shall include the removal and disposal of all materials from the observation tower in a manner consistent with best practices. The site shall be restored to the condition that existed prior to the erection of the observation tower. If the observation tower is not removed within the 90 days, the county may have the observation tower removed at the applicant's and/or owner's expense. Condition 11, prior to activity on the site, this conditional use shall be recorded in the public records of Pasco County and shall be recorded in a manner so that it appears in the chain of title of the affected parcel of land. Condition 12, the applicant shall obtain and maintain all required county and state permits, including but not limited to building permits, Southwest Florida Water Management District, and Florida Department of Environmental Protection permits as applicable. Condition 13, if the applicants decide to discontinue or abandon the use of the observation tower, or in the event the observation tower is not in use for a continuous period of 6 months or longer, the use shall be considered abandoned. The applicant shall be responsible for the removal of the observation tower within 90 days following the end of use or notice from the county administrator or designee that the observation tower is abandoned. Removal shall include the removal and disposal of all material and equipment related to the observation tower in a manner consistent with best practices. The site shall shall be restored to the condition that existed prior to the erection of the observation tower. If such observation tower is not removed within the 90 days, the county may have the observation tower removed at the applicant's or current owner's expense. Condition 14, applicants agree to indemnify, defend, and hold harmless Pasco County and its officers, representatives, agents, and employees in the Board of County Commissioners individually from and against any and all claims, loss, damages, suit, action, costs, charge, and/or expenses, including attorney's fees and court costs arising directly or indirectly from Pasco County's approval of this conditional use or the applicant's erection or use of the observation tower. It is intended that pursuant to this condition of approval, applicants will provide and pay for legal representation of Pasco County and/or the Board of County Commissioners or Planning Commission members individually in the event of litigation which arises out of this conditional use permit or the applicant's erection or use of the observation tower. Pasco County agrees the applicants will be allowed to select its own attorney or attorneys to handle the litigation. Applicants will be responsible for all attorneys' fees and direct expenses of litigation, such as expert fees, filing fees, and deposition costs incurred or charged by the attorneys. Condition 15, in the event of any legal challenge if the applicant operates pursuant to his conditional use permits, applicants understand and acknowledge that applicants are operating at their own risk. The applicants agree to release and hold the county harmless from any liability, causes of action, or damages whatsoever that the applicants or the county may incur solely as a result of applicants operating pursuant to this conditional use permit during any legal challenge in the event that a court of competent jurisdiction declares this conditional use permit legally invalid or otherwise enjoins applicants' operations pursuant to the conditional use permit. Successful legal challenge. Condition 16, this approval is subject to the provisions of the Land Development Code, Section 402.4.I, revocation of special exception and conditional use approvals. In addition, staff may initiate enforcement for violations of the conditions of approval by any of the methods available in the Land Development Code, Section 108, or through revocation of the conditional use pursuant to the provisions of the Land Development Code, Section 402.4.I, revocation of special exception and conditional use approvals, or both. And condition 17 requires that they sign the acknowledgement portion of the request. And I am here for any questions you may have.
Any questions from Denise before we bring up the applicant and public
Do
comment?
you need a drink of water?
Probably.
Denise, there's no requirement for a light on the outside for this because of the 110 feet?
It is not. It's too low. Anything over 200, that's what would cause requirement.
Oh, okay. All right. So, and the applicant is in agreement with all the conditions?
The applicant did state he was in agreement at the Planning Commission, but I would want him to come up and say that.
I'll wait till he makes his comment.
Yes, and I do want to mention that Mr. McKnight has requested a total of 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Mr. McKnight, if you wanted to come forward, sir.
Good afternoon. For me. Good afternoon. Excuse me. My name is Terry McKnight. I live at 36210 St. Joe Road, Dade City, 33525. I do think that the...
And you have been sworn.
I was sworn.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Just state that for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was sworn with the group. I do think that the real crux of the issue is that of the objections that have been filed by, I believe, 5 of the 19 owners to whom we sent the notice. And I do want to try to address the points that they raised, thank you, ma'am, individually. But I would like to first say a little bit about our property and the area in general, because I think it's true to say 4 things. One is that nobody who is not on our land would be able to see all of the tower. The second thing is that relatively few people will be able to see the tower at all. The third thing is that those people who see the tower will be seeing at most about 50 feet of it, but they'll be seeing it at some distance, and they'll be seeing the portion of it that's the smaller. For example, the actual cabin on the top is 7 feet by 7 feet. And finally, something that I did not have at the Planning Commission that I've had done since then, which is some drone pictures taken from the exact spot where the observation platform would be, I think will show that, unlike some of the concerns that were expressed about perhaps we'd be spying on people's homes and so forth, it's just, as you'll see, the homes won't even be visible from the tower if it were to be erected. I know this is a little, redundant of the picture Ms. Hernandez showed. This kind of shows the overall area. And you can see that the red dot, or rectangle actually, in the sort of the lower right middle is the actual location of the tower. We have a long 10 acres, so it's 1,270 feet from St. Joe Road to our back line. The tower would be 755 feet off of St. Joe Road, and therefore about 515 feet from our south line, which is out in the sometimes lake. The elevations don't show on here, but they actually matter quite a bit. We're on the south face of a large hill. The top of the hill, which is to the north and west of us, where, if any of you know the area where Ramsey Road goes over the hill, is at about 236 feet. St. Joe Road in front of our house is at something like 137. The bottom of our land, that south, which is actually a section line, I believe, is at an elevation of something like 70 feet. The base of the tower would be, and again, 515 feet north of there, would be at something like 87 feet, which means that the peak of the tower would be at something like 197 feet, true elevation. All of the property lines, as you can see along the lake, run down well into the lake. The subdivision called Linen Farms, and I'm sorry, they showed me how to do this before, and I guess I'm not doing it right. It's the subdivision to the south of us, and it's where I believe 3 of the 5 people who have filed objections live. As you can see, their homes are fairly well to the south of their property lines, again, because of the lake. Our property is really in 2 areas. The front 7.5 or 8 acres is fairly heavily wooded. It's a full canopy of mature oak trees, ranging from 50 to 60 feet, many of them. The back 2 or 2.5 acres is either in lake bed or dog fennel, depending on where we are in the hydrologic cycle, I guess. But because of the trees along the road, which is to say we're at the road level is at 137 feet, and then you have 67 or 60 odd feet of trees. So the treetops along the road are at roughly 197 feet, which is to say the same as the top of the tower. So, and I have some drone pictures, as I mentioned, that I'll show you. Basically, the top of the tower is at the same level as the trees at the top of the road. One other thing, and I guess there's this question not only of present but of future uses. But at this point, as you'll see, the farm or the homes in Linen Farms, I believe those are mostly 2.5 acre tracts. On the other hand, north of the road, we have 10 acres. Mrs. Futch had 10. Dr. McKay, a little farther west, had 39. Across the road from us, Uradco, the co-op, has 89. An entity called, I believe it's WSMB, has 40. Both of the tracts to our east, to our 2.5, neither of those folks has objected. And then it's mostly 5s along St. Joe Road and some 10s. So it's definitely mixed, but I don't think it's unfair to call it a fairly rural area. Because of the lake, the roads are bounded or spaced because of the distances to the lake. St. Joe Road, of course, is the closest road in our access. 52 is on the south side, about a mile or a mile and a half away. You can barely make out Happy Hill, which is on the west side, about 8 or 9/10 of a mile away. And then 21st Street, which isn't in view on this picture, is about 8/10 of a mile to the east. I do think it's possible that people looking along the bottom of the valley from Happy Hill will be able to see the tower, but again, it'll be from about a mile away. To go to the actual objections filed by the various neighbors, my wife actually collated them and put them into the common form. So, for example, 3 of the neighbors actually mentioned the color of the tower. One said in it is painted white with an exclamation point. Another said it could be an obnoxious 110-foot white tower, and then another said that painting it white might show there was some ulterior motive. This is the tower as it looks and has looked for some time. What had happened was, I'm sorry, forgot how to do the back. The white is the primer. We had always intended to paint it green, and then literally I got stopped when the building permit issue came up. So condition in 5 and 6, as Ms. Hernandez mentioned, do require us to paint it dark green and maintain that, and that was our intention all along. And I should have mentioned, and then in the packages y'all have, that's photo number 2. At least 2 of the folks who objected mentioned the problem with the tree buffer is that something that a storm or something like that, or a hurricane, could come along and wipe out the trees, and then that buffer that now exists would not. By way of response, we've said, you know, if anything's strong enough to take the woods down, it might well take the tower down too. And truthfully, with that kind of devastation, excuse me, the tower might be the least of our worries. But in any event, condition number 4, which we did agree to, states that if such a disaster should occur, we would remove the tower. I believe only one of the objections was about the lightning, and they mentioned they attract lightning and therefore it could be a safety hazard. Basically, when that cloud throws that big spark, when lightning occurs, it does not have a specific target. It's just headed for a general area. The truth is, when it gets closer to ground and makes that decision, if you will, then it might well pick the tower. But that means it was going to hit something in that area. And I'm suggesting that the tower, which is well grounded and made of steel, so it's certainly not going to burn, would be better than having it hit the house or the tree in the same immediate area. Finally, I would point out that I know the objection mentioned that there might be a fire caused by it, but I got to think that if there'd ever been a fire caused by a fire tower, the irony of that would not have escaped the media, and there'd been much reporting about fire towers causing a fire. Some of the folks question our motives in building the tower. One of the objectors mentioned that we might be interested in cyber crime, or that we might be doing surveillance in order to perpetrate burglaries in their homes when they were away, waiting until they left. I think she said until they were gone, and some of them were tame.
You got 1 minute. You're okay.
I only have a minute. I'd ask for 10. Is there already 10?
Yeah, they're keeping track, or it's been, yeah. Yes, sir.
I'd like to skip then and just go right to the pictures that, they're your pictures, I guess numbered, excuse me. I believe they're 5 through 10 or 11. I don't know how quickly I can get to them. Oops. These are the pictures taken from a drone that is exactly where the tower would be. It's an elevation of 110 feet. The red arrow is north. So this first picture looks to the north, looks to the south, and is really the places in Linen Farms where 3 of the folks who have objected do live. As you can see, the houses are not visible. As you pan around to the west, this is the places where the Futches who have objected live. I can go? I'll hurry.
Last couple pictures, that's fine.
Yes, sir. As you can see, the drone had drifted a little bit, but also you cannot see the Futch's house from the tower. This looks more to the northwest, and that is where Ramsey Road goes over the hill. So it would be visible from that part of the road where the pasture meets the tree line, but that's about a half a mile away. This is more to the northeast towards the Uradco property, and again, no homes are visible. This is straight east towards Dade City, so the nearest ones would be the 2.5 acre parcels, but the homes aren't visible there. And then this is sort of to the east of south, and again, looking across the lake, but none of the homes are visible. I don't know if I really have time for my conclusion or not.
No, we need to wrap.
All right,
I gave you additional, which.
No, that's fine.
So,
I think
and I'll
you're
give
fine.
the folks that have 3 minutes a little bit extra, just so I'm being fair, so. Okay, I only have really, I know a couple people stood up to be sworn, but I only have one other person, which is Mr. Waller, if you wanted to come forward, and then if whoever else would like to speak, just want to line up behind him, or you can wait, whichever. So good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases the board, my name is Charles Waller, 38038 Americana Avenue in Dade City, Florida. And I have been previously sworn, even though I'm an attorney. I'm not here as an attorney today, but I'm here as a friend to Terry and Mary McKnight. and also as a person who has a vital interest in this, in that in one of the pictures you saw that beautiful land going uphill, which is going to be looking right down on this. That belongs to Senator Wilton Simpson, yes, that
I
area
thought
up
that
there.
what WS was.
To Senator Wilton Simpson and Mr. Maggart and I, and we have a financial interest in that for future development. And we want to let you know that we certainly have no objection whatsoever to the granting of this petition. I went out to the property yesterday to view it personally, and there are a lot of unique things about that, other than the fact that it's not going on a little house lot, it's going on 10 acres. But this property has an iron fence along the front of it. That fence came from a public housing project over in Tampa. The bricks in the columns came from the Sunken Gardens in St. Pete. There's a beautiful fireplace out back that came from the stone in the old city hall here in Dade City. He has a vital interest in the Boy Scouts, and he thinks that this will be an educational situation for them, and I certainly agree. These fire towers, which have been such an important part of our life here in Florida, are being decommissioned at a steady rate. And to have this one preserved here, I think, is going to be an asset for us. So I'm here to solicit your consideration, favorable consideration for this request. And in doing so, it's not going to harm any person, from what I see. It would be a good thing for the community, and it would prevent what would be an otherwise unfair thing, in that he did receive favorable consideration this before he entered into this endeavor to buy it, and now that he's bought it, it would simply be unfair to deny this request. Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you, sir. And whoever else signed up, please come forward and just state your name and address, and if you've been sworn, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Futch, PhD. I live in Winter Haven, 2975 Plantation Road. Our property is adjacent to the McKnights to the west, so we're along that 10-acre border. First of all, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Board of County Commissioners and express the Futch family concern for the conditional use request by Mr. and Mrs. McKnight. Our family has been in Dade City for many, many years, and actually my great-grandfather was a county commissioner when this courthouse was built. So we have a long legacy in Dade City, and that goes back 109 years ago. I hope each of you had the opportunity to read my letter of September the 10th, which was sent to each commissioner both by mail and by email. In that letter, I addressed our concerns, outlining 11 points. Those points were: the fire tower does not conform to the residential agricultural district designation per your county code. The placement of a repurposed fire tower is contrary to the current use. The proposed structure greatly exceeds the maximum height of 35 feet, which is 214 feet or 75 feet above the maximum height your county code stipulates. The 11-story structures are highly unusual in the Dade City area, and the only one I can find in this area is the Edwinola. So why do we want another one in the area? There may be some cell phone towers that are higher. While they are stating this is an observation tower, it is really a commercial structure with the room on top that Mr. McKnight said is 49 square feet or 7 by 7 square feet. He and the others have already stated that they want to use this for other purposes, Boy Scouts or other activities for the community. So it's beyond just his personal use. Earlier commission rejected the request back in 2016. Earlier planning commissions also rejected the tower initially. Most recently, the planning commission only approved it after 17 conditions. Painting the structure dark green really doesn't hide it. It just makes it 110 feet green structure. The tower creates a visual blight. The county planning department recommends rejection. The request offers limited benefit for the neighboring surrounding area and only to the benefit of the McKnights. In summary, I would hope that you would find this an easy decision by the board to reject this conditional use on the above factors, and based on your county rules. Please do what is right for the area and follow your Chapter 500 zoning standards by rejecting the request. Thank you for your time and careful consideration to our request to reject the conditional use. Thank you very much. Any questions?
So you don't, I have one.
Okay, go ahead then.
So you don't live there?
No, my mother is deceased. She has the 10 acres next to it, plus an additional 8.8 acres, so we have 18.8 acres or thereabout next to the property of the McKnights.
And does anyone live there?
Not at the present time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Stentz. I live at 36125 Linen Farms Drive. I'm across the lake from the proposed tower. And I agree with Mr. Futch, so I'll be brief, okay? You don't need to hear all those objections again. But I do have a concern with the precedence this can set. We certainly don't want a large, property owners may feel that they can build things around the lake as well, and they would have a right to think that. And we don't want a lot of towers around our lake, okay? But we've lived here almost 40 years in Pasco. We've had 3 homes, and one thing we do is drive around, look at the area, then we make sure it's not landlocked, or it is landlocked, so that nobody builds a sewage treatment plant right to it, next to us or something like that. And then we look at the zoning, and that's very important because we know that's there to control the growth of a community, especially a fast-growing, progressive community and county like Pasco. And we count on that to make our decision as to do we want to buy this property? Is it secure for investment, for all the reasons why you buy a piece of property? So that is a concern that it seems as though sometimes the zoning can be circumvented very easily. But in a county like ours, again, that happens more times than not because it has to. And that does control the growth in such a fast-growing county, of course. And I really appreciate you folks having a tremendous responsibility. You do a great job. So, but that was my other concern, that you would just vote your conscience as individuals and base it on the facts only, if you would. Thank you very much. Oh, I beat the buzzer.
No, you still have a minute.
You still have a minute if you want to continue.
Pardon me? Oh, I have a minute.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? I'm out of gas.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
She has not been sworn in.
I've not been sworn in. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you, I need to look, sorry. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
My name is Margaret Woods. I live at 36332 St. Joe Road. I live 2 properties. I'm the 3rd property east of the McKnights. I have discussed this with my neighbors. You know, out of 19 that were notified, only 5 have objected. The rest of us have not objected. Most of my neighbors that I've talked to have thought it was kind of a cool idea. We were all excited about it from the very beginning. If you look when you're in the National Forest and you see a fire tower, is it a blight upon the scenery in the forest? No, it isn't. I don't see how it's a blight on the scenery even here on St. Joe Road. It's down at the bottom. Most of the people that would see it would be on the lake looking up, and all they're really going to see is a 7x7 little building and a tower. I don't see it as a blight on any view that anyone would see. Certainly from the drone pictures, you could see that there's no privacy issue. No one's going to have anybody looking through their windows because of the tree canopy. Most of us have had kids that have built tree houses up into the trees, and I don't see that those tree houses have posed a problem for neighbors with privacy or with it looking bad for their view. Most of the people that have complained, the Futches live right next door, but the canopy of trees makes it impossible, even from the top of that tower, to see their house. From my house, which is east of there, I can't see, I won't be able to see the fire tower. And I live at over 135, 150 feet above sea level, but I really won't be able to see it because there's such a huge canopy of trees there. So I really am concerned about what the objection actually is, other than it is, you know, an exception that they're asking for. I really find it confusing to understand, you know, why it has been not recommended, since I don't see it as posing a danger for anyone. I don't see it posing a privacy issue for anyone, and I really don't see that it ruins the view. Those people that live across the lake may see it, but I don't see that is going to be an ugly structure, painted green, sticking up above the trees, and it will be a beautiful view from the structure to be able to look out over the lake. So I really hope that you consider that so many of the neighbors have not objected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? If I could get a motion to receive and file the information Mr.
I
McKnight
move to
gave us.
receive and file.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Thank you. So, questions for Denise or,
Mr. Chairman?
yep, Commissioner Moore?
So the lake I'm not very familiar with is, and maybe, I don't know who can answer this, the applicant or Denise. I guess that would be the only appropriate person to ask. Is this lake navigable via a vessel, i.e. a boat? I mean, is it just a john boat situation, or could you actually ski on this lake?
This is Terry McKnight again. Because the lake sometimes goes completely dry.
Oh, it does?
Yes, sir.
Oh, well then,
There are
it's a shallow
fences
lake.
out in the lake, and skiing would be hazardous because of the barbed wire. But right now, there's good fishing. The lake is high, and there's good fishing, but it cycles.
Well,
Mr. Chairman?
so it goes up and down.
Commissioner Oakley?
I've known Mr. McKnight and his wife Mary for a very long time. I probably wouldn't want a tower in my yard, but I don't want to keep him from having one. And from what I've seen with all the conditions they've asked him to go through and he accepted, I don't find there's going to be an eyesore or anything of that nature to the community or surrounding area. The view he's going to get from there is not going to be one of any personal view, other than the fact that you're going to be looking across a beautiful area of Pasco County right here in East Pasco, which is pretty remarkable in itself with our hills and trees and all. Used to be some citrus groves in that same area we used to look at, but that's getting less all the time. So, but I have no objection to him having this tower, and as long as he agrees with those conditions.
If I may, Commissioners, a few minutes ago, as I was doing my presentation, there was a question asked as to whether Mr. McKnight was in agreement with those conditions. I would like, if it's acceptable, for Mr. McKnight to answer that question, because I didn't know if I can answer that.
Yep.
And
I think
he did agree at the Planning Commission, but I'm not sure.
He's behind you.
Thank you.
Let him come forward.
I'm sorry, I just forgot to say it. Yes, we're in agreement with all the conditions.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. I move approval.
Well,
Can I ask one more question, please? No?
He's already spoken.
Normally, sir, and we don't deviate, it's the applicant or staff, so I apologize.
I understand.
I move approval.
Second, discussion?
I mean, Denise,
You can
can
ask
he
Denise
ask
the
you a
question.
question and you can ask us the question? I don't want to leave it out if it's relevant, or, I don't know. I mean, Jeff, how do we normally handle that?
A commissioner can ask Mr. Futch what his question is, and that would be outside
Okay.
the public. And
What-
Mr. Futch, come, just.
What's your question,
what's the
Mr.
question,
Futch?
sir?
My question is just, would you want to have a 110-foot tower next to your property? So when you vote, understand that you're putting a 110-foot tower, and is that what you want next to your property, regardless of whether the trees are there or not? That's my
And
only
that,
question.
and that's not really a question, that's argument.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Okay, we already have a motion.
So I seconded it, and under discussion, I would say, you know, my first thought on this was it's very odd. But I would say that I enjoy seeing the old fire towers, and I'd probably want to stop by and climb it. And yeah, it's unusual in this kind of neighborhood, but it's still very rural out there, and I don't think it's that out of place. if you didn't have the canopy and you could look down on everyone's yards, that would be a little creepy. But I think you've got good canopy, and frankly, anybody can fly a drone these days and see much more than they should. So that's why I've seconded it, and I think the conditions are good conditions.
Okay, with that, all in favor?
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification of the record, the motion is approval of the conditional use subject to the attached conditions of approval.
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And with that, is there anything else to come before the board? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
That's it. Go to walk-ons.